So I tried to create a decoy world for you to destroy in my mind. You could stay and believe you're tearing me apart while I'm coming to life, while I'm coming to life. Couldn't keep the secret. You found my darkest demons and brought them out in the light. So I ran to all the preachers, despite having every reason to shut down and mobilize. So I prayed to the gods for one last saving grace against all odds. And I built an escape using all my energy just to come back to life, back to life.
Left your party at sundown. You were nowhere to be found. Sipped my bottle, heading uptown. Ooh, long way home, the back roads. No hands on the handle. Blew the red light like a candle. The wind undid my hair like it knew you weren't there. Boys like you never play fair. Don't play fair. I'm on a midnight bike ride. Past orders 2 a.m. Left you behind. How could you think we could just be friends again? I'm on a midnight bike ride. Past orders 2 a.m. Left you behind. Now that you know things can never be the same. City has no secrets. I know all the shortcuts now. I'm lost looking for your touch. Used to be your night shift. Can't work out, I might just fly down here until the sun lifts. Found an empty street, sing myself a melody about how it used to be. Wind undid my hair like it knew you weren't there. Boys like you never play fair. I'm on a midnight bike ride. Past orders 2 a.m. Left you behind. How could you think we could just be friends again? I'm on a midnight bike ride. Past orders 2 a.m. Left you behind. Now that you just be friends again. I'm on a midnight bike ride, as short as 2 a.m. Left you behind, now that you know things can never be the same. I'm on a midnight bike ride, as short as 2 a.m. Left you behind, how could you think we could just be friends again? I'm on a midnight bike ride, as short as 2 a.m. Left you behind, now that you know things can never be the same. Lights up my sundress, taking. It was mine for the taking. It was mine for a million days. In a million ways. Stole your heart and I got lucky. Stole your heart and it was mine in a million ways. For a million days.
I think I need therapy or just some more whiskey. I can't seem to understand how you do this to me. You've been running in circles inside my head. Wasn't looking for love, but baby, I found you instead. I think I need to confess. Saw you in that red dress. I can't seem to understand how you got all that finesse. Still been running in circles inside my head. Wasn't looking for love, but baby.
Hello and welcome into the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. Tonight is week 2 of the LoL tournament. Boise State and 9 other schools in the Mountain West making up the Mountain West Conference. They'll go through a round robin, playing every team twice to determine who will be the champion and who will be going on to the playoffs. The Broncos were the defending champion in the fall. Everybody wants to bring them down. Wyoming almost did it last week. Can Hawaii do it tonight? I am Michael Fisher, going to be joined by Adam Chizu McGuire to call all of the action tonight. Could not pick a better co-host to go over this game between two Mountain West rivals. And Chizu, it's a new season. Got a little bit of experience last week with some of the items. What is your personal new favorite item right now in League of Legends?
Oh, man. You're going to put me on the spot immediately.
Yep.
I, as a support player, am loving the Enchanter version of everything, your staff of flowing water kind of stuff. I love the fact that I can still buy a Sunfire now and not feel absolutely terrible, especially when I'm running the bot lane Leona kind of stuff. But it's just been a crazy cattywampus kind of season, and I'm glad to be here. It's been 36 months since I walked through these doors, and each and every day this team has been improving. And right now, I am unbelievably stoked to see what the Boise State Broncos have to offer. Even peeked out some of the early game strats while these boys were warming up today. And they've got some spicy stuff up their sleeve. We'll see if they stick to those or if they've got more of the norm in the near future.
Yeah, it's going to be a grind tonight. I know Wyoming, who middle-of-the-road Mountain West team. I know a lot of the predictions in the chat, and when we looked over the OPGGs, all right, Boise State's going to 2-0 them. It's going to be a roll. Early season, crazy thing happens. It took Boise State 3 games. Wasn't really close in game number 3, but still, anything can happen any given day, especially in collegiate esports. You see here the LoL format, 376 universities, 11 Mountain West teams. UNLV, the only team not entering in the tournament. As I said, 10 round-robin games. They'll play everybody once. Top 4 advance. Mountain West Conference Championship winner and the runner-up will advance to the playoffs. Last semester, that was Boise State and Nevada. And the Wolfpack already have a loss to Colorado Colorado State. So they're on the climb up. Can Boise State move to 2-0 and remain in the driver's seats? That is what we will find out here tonight as we take a look at the standings. Of course, some teams have already played 2 games. Boise State sitting at 1-0. Hawaii 0-1. They dropped their first game to San Jose State, 2-1. San Jose State in the running for maybe that 4th place team. Boise State, Colorado State, and Nevada probably predicted to be in the top 3, Chizu. But, I mean, you mentioned it, 36 months since you've walked in the store. You've been doing it much longer than I have. Any other Mountain West team we should keep our eye on that maybe might sneak up and maybe even gives you nightmares?
Well, that's the beauty of the whole Mountain West Conference as a whole, really. Any of these teams can strike any day. I was there when San Jose won their Mountain West championship. I was in the audience with my head in my hands, but it was an unbelievably awesome stint. So that team always freaks me out whenever I see them on a lineup. And, of course, UNLV, long rivals here of the Boise State crew, seen them go head-to-head. And UNR, like I said, can turn on at any given point. And we're only a few series into this for some teams. We've only gone through 1, and already it's starting to become explosive. Dean has the most assists throughout the entire Mountain West and has played 1 less series than some of those teams. So it comes to show that, not only are the Broncos stacked, they've been performing as well.
Yeah, this was something we brought up last time that, I mentioned it. This is the first time from a semester to a new semester that the Boise State League of Legends team has not had a roster change. Every single time I've been here, which is I think been about half as long as you, there was somebody graduated,
sure.
Somebody else moved on, maybe somebody moved into a different role.
Right.
This is the first time everybody's playing the same thing. Big shout out to Goblin. First semester he also hasn't changed his name on me. Everything's the same for Boise State. Red Hots, Ethug, Ascent, Goblin, Dean, and you mentioned it. They are all playing at that high level. And you mentioned Dean, of course, come to expect it. Any tournament we have, every time it's like, here's the assist leaderboard, Dean's always on it. I'm not shocked he's at E in first place. We see here for Hawaii, I'm OP, I Vane early, I learned game, Gomazi, and Krusty. These names for Hawaii might win the cake for best names. Some of them are out there, but that's some interesting names.
That's kind of one of the beautiful things about esports is just like the completely unique name. I try to cast basketball sometimes, and Ateta Kempo is a rough name for me. Some of these I can get behind, and I absolutely adore them. Hopefully, I Learn Game has got some more stat than the name leads to. Did take a quick look at that whole crew, and they do have quite a eclectic group of champions that they can pick from. And as far as Boise State is concerned, we're seeing a lot of the same and a lot of big victories as far as Ascent's Rumble is concerned. We take a look, Goblin and Dean. Dean has been slamming things like Soraka and Karma and just absolutely getting results. So we'll see what the situation is as we have more information on the Broncos than we do Hawaii here.
Yeah, really curious if Vane only, who's listed in the jungle spot, is jungling Vane. I've seen it done.
Right.
And if he plays like the people I play with, it will not go very poorly for her. It will not go very well for Hawaii. It'll go very poorly for them. But you know what? Let's bring in our 3rd member of the crew here, our draft specialist, Daniel Glovely Clock, to break down all of what we're going to see. And Glovely, what are your expectations for this game after what we saw for Boise State last week, going against Hawaii, another opponent that I think, based on the stats that we could see, Cheesy kind of hinted maybe that's not the stats that are actually there, Boise State should roll.
I have a lot of faith in Boise State. They've proven time and time again that they are a good team. They've got their whole lineup together. Nothing's changed. And that makes a big difference when you're going into a new season. And everybody else's rosters might have gotten swapped around because of players graduating or needing to leave for one reason or another. So having that full lineup, having that sort of team synergy where you know where the other players are going to play and how, makes a big difference starting off these new seasons.
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as the pick bans are concerned, do you think that we will see some of the more powerful Boise State pickups today? Things like the Jungle Twitch, or are they going to leave a sense or a Rumble up at any point today?
I don't imagine anyone will ever leave a Sense Rumble up. Sometimes when you have a one pick that's that strong, you just have to respect that champion. Keep it off of the board. I do think that there are a lot of Boise State picks that are really strong that we could see again. I think the Galio, for example, is something we've seen run in multiple different positions, has that ability to jump across the board. So I think that's a really strong pick. Lots of very strong jungle champions right now. If you play a fighter, you are probably feeling really good because Stridebreaker and Goredrinker both gave you really good options here in this new preseason.
And Glovely, I'm going to talk about a champion that sort of flew under the radar, definitely caught me off guard last week, and that was the Trundle. I mean, there was a series where he was picked all the time, and it kind of felt like whoever had Trundle on their team, I know Red Hot's had it in Game 1, the opposing top laner had it in Game 2 and 3, Trundle kind of dominated. Do you think we're going to see a champion like that again, or do you think we might, get away from the Trundle?
Yeah, I think as far as the Trundle goes, it's just a really strong champion into tank picks, and I think tanks were very strong early on in the meta. They have since fallen off a bit since Riot decided to nerf down those tank items, make sure they're not quite as powerful. But Trundle in particular benefits a lot from the large amount of healing in the game, both in terms of items, runes, masteries, and of course built into his kit himself. So once he gets some of those items going, he's very hard to bring down, on top of stealing away the tank stats from whatever tanks you have on your team.
Absolutely, and I do think that we're going to see some pretty interesting things coming out, especially from the bottom side. When it comes to your bottom lane supports, who do you prefer, your enchanters, or are you finding the more tanky smash-and-go champions are the ones you're looking for?
Right now, as far as I'm concerned, I think that the engaged supports are really strong right now. Leona especially is a very good pick in my opinion. If you like to play things like Pyke or Nautilus, all of them will have the ability to create playmaking opportunities for the AD carries that are dominant right now, which in my opinion, Jhin, Kai'Sa, Misfortune, those are the ones you're most likely to see tonight.
Well, we're going to hop right into the game number 1 draft. Hawaii on the blue side, Boise State on the red side, and there is a Renekton ban by the Warriors, something that we saw Red Hot play once last week to decent results. A very strong top laner nonetheless. As we have, as Globally kind of mentioned, we started with the tank meta, kind of got nerfed. Now we have that bruiser top lane that we're used to, and that is a Seraphine ban, not a Shyvana, and then there's that Nidalee taken away from Ethug as well.
No surprises here. That's Samira going to be removed as well. Champion that gets, dare I say, stylish, especially towards that mid and late game. And if the early game goes in her favor, that movement point becomes very, very early. Nothing like getting, pentaed at around 8 minutes over a fight over Drake or something of that nature. There's that Rumble ban we were talking about. I was excited for maybe a quick second we would see something like that, but I wanted to touch on that Renekton ban that we were seeing. There's Olaf as well. As far as that is concerned, as far as the pools of champions are concerned, Red Hot has appearances as Ornn, Pantheon, Gnar, Shen. If they need to lock up some kind of tanky engaged champion, his pool is nearly limitless, especially now with the bans that we've seen come through.
Yeah, and it really is interesting because Boise State has such an interesting strategy that we've seen, and it is kind of, the game flows through Ethug, get him really far ahead. Dean's going to start roaming up to try and help out Ascent to help him scale up, and Red Hots and Goblin kind of get left on these islands of, hey, you're going to go in the 1v1. In Goblin's case, sometimes it's a 1v2, and their goal is basically keep even in farm and don't die. And that opens up a huge champion pool for Red Hot because he doesn't have to win his lane. He just doesn't have to fall behind. And that kind of, puts him in that spot you mentioned, Cheezy, where he can play a whole lot of things. Right. He's going to be going into probably a Camille, and Boise State says, all right, we'll take the most overpowered AD carry in the game. They'll pick up the Kai'Sa for Goblin. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, we see Goblin on Kai'Sa quite often. The ability to pump out damage, not only early on, but with an advantage, becomes absolutely huge. And there's that Galio that we had hinted to. We are definitely going to see it here in this game, and I love that kind of response. All right, well, we've got one source of damage that becomes almost limitless. Might as well protect it in the easiest way possible, whether it's the taunt or the hero's entrance. Huge pickup there for the side of the Broncos. Yeah, really curious what Boise State wants to do with it. We've seen more recently, it's been Ascent on that Galio in the mid lane. He definitely has more ability to make that hero's entrance wherever he wants. In the bot lane, we've seen Dean pull out quite a few times. You do limit your hero's entrance just a little bit, and Hawaii wants to kind of answer that Global's hero entrance with their own global ultimate in the Twisted Fate. Not someone we've seen a whole lot, but always is a huge presence to teleport right behind. You say nothing personal, kid, hit with the yellow card, it's usually a kill for his team. The pick of the draw, man, especially given the fact that we have seen him show up a lot more in your professional leagues. We've seen, people just go absolutely insane with him, like Caps, I think, who had like a 17-kill KDA on his Twisted Fate game. So yeah, not to mention the damage that he outputs is there as well. The yellow card is absolutely phenomenal and will allow for continued blocks when you follow it up with things like Morgana's Q or the Hextech ultimatum there from Camille will allow you to really just pick whoever you want, put him in a cage, and then just bully him as much as you need to. The Morgana pick is really interesting, as that's something Boise State has banned away almost consistently, at this time giving it away for the Seraphine, the Samira, and the Olaf. So very interesting that Hawaii maybe picked up on that trend, picks it. There's that Karma that you mentioned. Probably going to be Dean on that. And Glovely, what are you seeing here from these first waves of picks and bans?
My immediate sense is that what Hawaii is building is very much a pick-oriented composition. All of their champions really great for locking down single targets or picking them off just one after the other. So if they can collapse on top of a single target and catch them out, they can propel themselves ahead very early into the game. So definitely something Boise State needs to watch out for. On the other side of things, Boise State very much a team fight-oriented composition, with that Galio able to roam very quickly to fights, provide AoE taunts for his team, lots of protection, Kaisa able to follow up on all of that crowd control, proccing her passive, and of course Karma, team-wide barriers, great lockdown on single targets. So overall, very much team fight versus pick-oriented as we see these bans come through. Talia, Graves, Malphite, one more for Hawaii available.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do like this ban here for the side of Hawaii. If there is one champion I have seen Red Hots absolutely roll in lane, it's his Malphite. The way he has absolutely calculated that champion down to the numbers, smart move there from the side of the Warriors, and we'll see what the final removal here is. No surprise to see Talia removed, the Graves as well. Just super strong and poignant junglers to be a complete understatement. And then we'll take another shot here at Red Hots as Ornn is going to be removed. Still got plenty to choose from. He still has the Gnar, the Shen. I don't know if you run Pantheon into something like this, but the sky's the limit as far as Boise State is concerned.
Yeah, I'm not a gambling man. My GME stocks still remain at 0, but I would have never guessed Red Hots to be the most targeted banned player by a team. I mean, usually it's 2 or 3 onto Ethug, 2 or 3 onto Ascent. We see the Hecarim picked up by Boise State, something Ethug loves to run.
Right.
There's not a much more full damage-dealing horse than him, but I am shocked that Hawaii, maybe they think top's their weakest lane, but with how Boise State plays, the fact that 3 of them won against Red Hots means that they are trembling in their boots over what he's going to bring out.
Well, and it absolutely gives Boise State at least a pick of confidence there. They know what they can get away with now. You might as well have 2 of your strongest players with that pick priority there. The Hecarim pickup is going to allow them to play the tempo that they want to get at. Once you get into the late game, they'll be able to pick off who they need to with the mobility as well as the shields and just the raw movement ability impairing skills that these guys have. But they're going to have to, again, work around this pick comp. One individual from Boise State is out of place, and the rest of the structure is going to crumble, especially with the addition of Jarvan. Flag and drag to Cataclysm, you're not going anywhere. You got 2 cages now to get out of.
Yeah, we see the Jhin, the final pickup here for Hawaii in that 80 carry role. Definitely think that Boise State also, maybe wants to punish that Jhin who can't really get away if his flash is down with the Hecarim or with the Galio taunt. And I'll be curious to see what Red Hots wants to bring out in this final pick. You mentioned the Shen still available, maybe the Pantheon. I know he's brought out the Trundle in a series as well, and
Sure.
It's actually going to be the Poppy.
Okay, so I was going to bring this up. This was actually what he was running earlier today. It was a top lane Udyr, which I hadn't seen in quite some time. We won't worry about the rest of the game, but it did show promise. He was kind of able to hold that lane. It's been a while since we have seen Poppy, and what she offers is pretty much everything we were talking about prior.
Yeah, she fits into this comp for Boise State that, it has been the standard almost. It's let Ethug go. I think the man is actually allergic to items that give armor, magic resistant health. It has to give damage, crit chance, or lethality, or he doesn't build it. I don't even think it appears in his shop. You put Goblin on a champion where he's comfortable in a 1v2 and then can pop off late game. And then everyone else is just there to support the damage that Ethug's going to put out. And I think Poppy does a really, really good job of doing that. And you mentioned the flag and drag from Jarvan. Can't Cataclysm when you're flying back to your spawn.
Oh, absolutely. I did want to bring up, I love this final pickup, the Jhin right now. Just so unbelievably strong overall. You'll be able to hit those 4th shots. Plus, Curtain Call is absolutely massive. It is perhaps my favorite ultimate. Throughout the entire game, the ability to prioritize your damage, not to mention pick off a rather tanky individual with that final shot as well. The ground that you can cover over objectives is absolutely massive. So again, we were talking the pick comp, the Death Lotus or whatever into the Zap is going to be huge. Just unbelievable CC here from the side of the Warriors. And as we mentioned, the Broncos going for the full-fledged team fight, but that is not going to slow them down if, we are akin to what Boise State likes to do, which is go fast, from my understanding.
Boise State loves to go fast. And Glovely, what else are you seeing here that you can maybe think to expect from either of these teams in game number 1 of the series, which is right around the corner?
I think after this, picks and bans roughly remain the same general strategy. We've got a team fight on one side, we've got a pick composition on the other. The Jarvan, of course, going to propel that pick comp to be very early. He can even gank as early as right after his first buff at that level 2 with the flag and drag strategy. So definitely something the Broncos are going to have to watch out for, because if they get hit by one crowd control, odds are good they're going to get hit by another and another and another and another, and oh, there goes your health bar.
Yeah, absolutely. And if at any point in time Boise State can find a way, I mean, I do see a relatively squishy team, all things considered. Camille, yes, does get tanky-ish. Jarvan kind of does go tanky-ish. If he doesn't end up going that tanky route, there's a lot of individuals who can kind of just be wiped from the floor as far as Boise State is concerned, because once they get their tendrils into you, you're not really going anywhere. We did mention, things like the Hero's Entrance will allow them to make some maneuvers. And just, I think people really underestimate the Mantra E from your Karma. Her ability to get not only people in and out of dangerous situations when you choose to, but just the raw stats they provide as well.
One thing that some people aren't going to underestimate, and that is the Boise State Broncos team. These are the defending Mountain West champions from this event in the fall, took down Nevada in the finals, and they're sitting at 1-0. They took down Wyoming in a match that maybe was a little closer for comfort than we had expected, but still there were a ton of great plays. So if we could take a quick look back at last week's Week 1 matchup, Boise State and Wyoming, take a look at how all of that went down, because Boise State, like we talked about, probably could have been a 2-0 victory. The Broncos ended up winning 2-1. Maybe that just proves the Mountain West is getting tougher and tougher, because there's a lot of talented teams in this that, might be challenging for those top 4 spots going to the playoffs. So let's take a look back. Week number 1, Boise State versus Wyoming, and how everything shook out. Knockups with the ultimate, Boise State won. If Wyoming dodged the ult, those were usually the team fights that they won.
Right, or if that ult came in a little too late. That happened a couple instances as well, where Wyoming
Steal ends up being sort of nullified, as we see Gragas, Devious King on the bottom side of the screen, did take away Ethug's jungle, so we do have a little bit of left and right side jungling here. Here they come, a follow-up, and it's going to land the charm. Can the knockup from Ethug land? No. Guppy incredibly low, so is Goblin forced to flash away. It's 1 kill for Boise State, and it looks like everyone's going to disengage here with the low health.
they shoved Wyoming as far back into their own jungle as possible, and they're turning this into a fight.
That's how you do it. They're going to Rosero incredibly low. He will fall. It's a 4v5. There's Ascent still waddling down. Boise State picks up 3. Who needs your mid laner? It's an ace for Boise State in a 5-on-4. And the Broncos in the process. Red Hot's now rotating up. Ascent's got another taunt. Going to land onto 3 members. Etha going to dash in as well. Boise State, though, gets a shutdown, but here they come. Boise State picks up 2. Guppy and Rosero on the wrong side of the wall. Incredibly low. It's a triple kill for the Darius. It's an ace for Boise State, and that should be a dragon for the 2.
Hell, we'll see how he decides to initiate.
Perfectly picks off Guppy. No idea he was there. Here's Entrance. Not going to be an impact in this fight, but it's going to put Ascent in on the back line. He's going to Proto Belt in. A perfect taunt. He's just going to use it on Dr. Blorbley to make sure he can't get away. The Annie will flash. Still has a ton if the W comes up. It's going to be enough with the volley slows, plus the traffic clone are going to... And Ethug. Red Hot's going to ult in as well. There's the first stun. Followed up with the Zenith blade. There's nowhere he can go. They layer the CC perfectly. Meanwhile, Ascent in the mid lane, he's got to be careful. Does use the barrier. Has Ignite as well. Dr. Borbley going to dash through. One more shield from the Q. Is it going to be enough? It is for now, and he's going to pick up the kill. He will die to the dredge line. What a great series between Boise State and Wyoming. And, of course, Doc's keys to the game, trying to guide the Broncos to a 2-0 start. Understand your comp, understand your win condition, respect their spikes, and play your game. It's all brought to you by Count, whose Identity Trust Global Network delivers real-time fraud prevention, account protection, enables a personalized customer experience for more than 9,000 leading brands and payment providers. If you want to stay safe online, go check them out at count.com, KOUNT.com. Fish and Chizu here getting ready for game number 1 right around the corner. And Chizu, what are you expecting from Boise State in this game? Are you expecting more of the same, where we're going to have a top 5 full of Ethug, or maybe you think it's someone else's turn to pop off?
You know, at this point, any one of these players could get their own little highlight reel, if you will. But I do anticipate, Ethug kind of just smashing into these lanes. He's, their big engaged position as far as this composition is concerned. I do love seeing Goblin pop off. You can almost see it in the way that he plays, too, that confident kind of increase as every, Q from the Ashe is starting to land at multiple instances. You can kind of just tell, like we saw that flash over the wall by Blue. I mean, he can really start to feel himself out and then really start to run with that momentum. So, again, anyone, any day, because I'm a support main, so Dean's probably going to get it because, we are severely underrated most of the time.
Yeah, Dean did the impossible last week, which was expand his champion pool. Just
What?
I mean, Ahri, support
Yeah,
Ahri.
right.
And then one-shotted people because,
Sure.
you know, when you put an AP champion in the support lane, you just build full AP items, right? Doesn't
Might as
care
well.
and everything
Yep.
happens. I'll be curious because you mentioned he plays a lot of Karma. It's a very strong champion.
Yep.
You can't always get a guaranteed pick when you're Karma. You've got to land the leash, wait 2 seconds, then
Sure.
it'll root. I'll be curious if Dean maybe hangs out in the bot lane a little bit more this time and tries to get Goblin far ahead as opposed to roaming like he usually does and getting the rest of the team ahead.
Well, what's interesting is with that E, you can get 2 Dragon or 2 other lanes relatively quick, so he does have that early lane roaming option if he wants to, if he gets ahead or just finds out that this lane is better off without him. So it does give him vision potential, things of that nature. And again, I don't see him going absolutely bananas. The W helps to lock the individuals down. Your Mantra Q actually tends to be the better engaged option as you hit slow and then you land the tendril or the tether for that matter, and then just go from there. But again, that's just me personally speaking. But it's a very powerful champion. Enchanters right now do an absurd amount of damage if you go that route. Sure, you can get your shields and heal and do what supports are supposed to do, or you can just blow up your opponent with lasers. Like, you take your pick.
You're supporting the team more if the enemy team's dead, right?
It's like kill secured. It's not a kill steal. Come on now.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah. If anyone ever says KS, you're like, you're right. Kill secured. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Next time you would be
Right
dead.
click harder, all right?
Exactly. The harder you click your mouse as any carry, the more damage. You're actually more likely to crit.
My ultimate only does 1500 true. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
What a just crazy change. We've gone from supports have to be full tanks to, you know what, the support's going to do more damage than the AD carry end of game, but,
Sure.
That's totally okay. So I'm really curious. I mean, like you mentioned, there's great debate. Is it going to be more support Karma,
Sure.
keeping the rest of the team alive? Is it going to be the YOLO Mantra Q one shot
Sure.
and the team's half-life before the rest of them get in there? And the other thing, I mean, you mentioned it in the draft. Jarvan could potentially flag a drag, gank level 2.
Yep.
If there's anyone who's an aggressive jungler, though, it's Ethug.
Sure.
I'll be curious if he maybe predicts that and is right there for the counter jungle if Hawaii dares try and outgank Ethug. Because few have tried it, and the few that have rarely are very successful.
Sure. And this is one of the situations, too, that the side of the Warriors for Hawaii, they do have a stellar kind of 1-3-1. So if things do get out of control and they do get those major objectives, and they get position on the map over Boise State, it could get real nasty real quick for the side of Boise State University. But again, I'm more concerned about the layering, the CC, just the sheer amount of things Boise State needs to get through, dodge, or just all around avoid in order to even get the fight started. So we'll see. Again, it's 2 clashing rocks. We'll see which one's left standing.
Yeah, it's going to be a ton of fun. I always love that we, are able to incorporate that sort of conference rivalry into esports events because I think that is what makes just collegiate sports in general so much fun. Yeah, you can go play some school you've never heard of, but when you can play a school that you might know a kid who goes there, you might see him because they are so geographically close for the most part. Hawaii, one of the few outliers in that case. It still always just means a little bit more when you take down one of those teams. So we do see here how it's all going to break down. Looks like Ivane only is going to stop the back.
Nice thumbs up to follow it up. Just a little, hey, how are you? Neener, I believe is the scientific term for that.
Like, look at that, then you type in the all chat hacks, question mark?
Script.
Are you
Question mark ping, question mark ping.
Jarvan seeing red squares, question mark?
Exactly. I have to say, 36 months ago, I didn't have to lean forward. This is just showing signs of my age that now I have to, scoot to see the items and nameplates. Am I getting old fish?
No, we'll give you a break on the items because, I must have, slipped dock an extra 20 before the game started. I got the much bigger TV, and there are still times I'm like,
I see.
What is that item? It wasn't broken, Riot. You didn't need it. You could have kept the old item icons for the old items. I don't like the new ones. They're too fancy.
It's all fancy now, fish. We're just not used to fancy things, you know what I mean?
And we've been playing League for so long, it took them how many years to update the items? We're like, no, we're used to the old ones. Bring it back.
I feel so sorry for Ornn players now who, have another whole series of items to remember as they get their masterwork upgrades as well. But relatively normal starts as far as this game is concerned. Nothing too crazy. Corrupting Potion for the Twisted Fate. You do see the ring there for the Galio in the mid lane. First, Binding is going to hit. Nice little poke there from the side of Hawaii, who will draw what you refer to as the mind game first blood, but Boise State is quick to return the favor. Going to be on the, I guess, more positive side of that trade there, depending on what you're looking at.
I was keeping an eye on Ivane only on that Jarvan. He got the ward onto Ethug's red, so he knows he didn't start there. Maybe thought he might try something cheeky at level 2 in the top lane, even onto that Poppy, because Camille still does have a decent bit of lockdown, but No, it's just a standard start for both junglers. They're just going to full clear their camps, and I'll be curious to see where they both want to gank first, because Boise State, we talked about, they kind of historically ignore top lane. I mean, what good does it do if you put your Poppy ahead? So Ethug's probably going to be looking for something in the mid lane, I would have to think.
She can take more damage. That's exactly what happens when your Poppy gets ahead. But a nice set of roots there. I'm liking the skill shot combination here from the side of Hawaii. The Warriors are doing a really good job of getting out that aggression, making sure that they are focusing the same targets while still maintaining the CS here, only down by 1, and that's not much to begin with. A little bit of a push here from the side of the Broncos, as it looks like, yeah, nice 80% there coming out of Goblin. The other binding is not going to land. So again, Boise State University, Dean and Goblin just abusing this lane right now. Dean's going to move up again. That Q is going to land, and they continue their stance, push forward here on the bottom side.
And Boise State's doing a really good job answering the aggression of Hawaii. I mean, as you mentioned, they got the double root on the Dean, and they almost took more damage in the trade. Goblin and Dean, they have been playing together for so long. One of the few lanes that hasn't ever really changed in my time for Boise State. They kind of understand, all right, you know, now we're both going in, and they can trade so well. Speaking of going in, here comes Ethug.
Hecarim is looking for something. Nope, instead just going to give the old Q. Hey, I'm here. I'm showing you I have double buffs. And a little bit of an interesting position here. Gold card is going to be used, and Taunt is going to be burned, but not going to land there. I believe a flash was expended there, yeah, from the Twisted Fate. So that hey, how are you becomes a little bit more in a gathering of resources there for the Broncos. So not necessarily a spectacular gank, but it gets the job done.
Yeah, I have seen very few ganks that are that telegraphed where it was like, all right, I'll just walk on through, and then he's like, haha, I got jumped, turn it around, and they still got the flash. Absolutely incredible for Boise State, and now it puts Twisted Fate on the clock where he's always got to be ready for Hecarim to come back until that flash is up.
Yeah, that charge was good. It was a nice little play. They got the gold card out, and that's when you go. Anytime you see that thing used, that's the kind of go indicator there. Also a go indicator is going to be a nice binding right there. Flag and drag is used, but the flash is also there in response. Dean loses a summoner spell, but keeps his life here as they now have at least tabs on where Hawaii's jungler is there on the bottom side, but nothing doing other than a flash expended. So again, another I'm here, get the resource, get on back out for both of these junglers.
Yeah, great job by iVayne only. That's one of the things that I like to kind of keep an eye on in Boise State's games is, you know, is the jungler for the other team able to match what Ethug is doing?
Sure.
Because if as long as he's able to do that, the other team can stick in the game. But when Ethug goes off, gets a gank, you're still farming, then gets another gank, and you're still potentially farming, then your team's going to start to fall behind. So matching that, as we see a gank here.
And then jump is going to be there, and here comes Ethug as well. They're going to do a pretty absurd amount of damage. Their gold card is going to land. Electrocute going to be putting out extra damage as well. Ethug, it does take quite a bit there. Not able to secure the kill there, but it is something I guess they could have fought a little harder for. It looks like Ethug, unfortunately, just taking all those turret shots kind of killed that plan almost as quickly as it started. And again, another great exchange for the Broncos on the bottom side.
Yeah, I learned game clearly knows a lot about the game already, putting his back to the turret so that the Hecarim cannot get behind you, charge you back into his teammates, something that Hecarim's love to do, so really good play. By that Twisted Face, does force him back though, but we see Ascenta also is back. He's going to use the teleport. I learned game with that global teleport, bringing the Ignite, so Boise State's going to have a little bit of an advantage there.
Yeah, we'll see. I just got to say, the Tormented Soil Comet thing is something I have just not gotten over since that was even introduced however many seasons ago it was. You just basically stack up that Spell Thief over and over and over again. Extra damage, nothing doing. You don't even have to land the Qs for the rest of the game, if you, or at least the laning phase, if you don't want to. So good moves there from Hawaii to continue to put that out. I don't even think the bottom side of the Broncos haven't left yet. I don't know if they're trying to bait this out or actually looking to get back in resource, but this is typically when they would go back to grab whatever item that Dean is looking for here. But it looks like topside, a little bit of an exchange, but again, two mountains slamming into each other, not much there.
And neither bot lane is back. Interesting that Ascent brought the Predator on the Galio. Usually see the Aftershock and you build right into the Rocket Belt. So I'll be curious to see if he's still going to bring the Rocket Belt since he already has that sort of built-in standard movement speed. He's going to hit the taunt though.
Taunt's there, gold card used, and here comes the Hecarim. They're able to get the Fear First Blood over to Ethug, and we knew it was going to be the option there. They find one in the mid lane.
Yeah, they get the Ignite out as well from Iron Game, trying to get a cheeky revenge kill on Ascent with the turret. But as I talked about, as soon as you blow that flash in the mid lane, you're on a timer, and that timer is until your flash is up, you are sitting meat. Even when you're under your own tower, it's Twisted Failure.
It's the old rinse and repeat, as I like to call it. People were confused the other day when we were queuing up, like, what's the old rinse and repeat? I was like, wait a minute and a half, he's going to be back. And wouldn't you know it, this one, it comes a little bit later. But yeah, the second that flash is used, you basically paint a big target on your head. The Ignite, I don't know if that was really the best opportunity there for that, but you do what you can, especially under the given circumstances. But a great initial engage there from the mid lane of Boise State with Ascent, but to close it out, eThug, just right place, right time, and nothing stopping him.
Yeah, we haven't seen Ivane only since he got the flash from Dean in the bot lane. That flash is about 15% away from being back up, so 30, 45 seconds away, and not going to be punished by Jarvan. Of course, ganking bot lane so much harder. And, you know, this is just the camera, for some reason, really likes this wet noodle bonanza. No jungler is even thinking about going top lane.
I mean, it's, yeah, one of those situations where both have, you know, their options. Well, they're going to enter the game once you hit some kind of either weird lane gank or the dragon fight that'll be coming up here sometime between now and never. But again, as far as those are concerned, I don't know, maybe they just want to see the two Titans clash over and over again. It's a scary lane, man. Top lane freaks me out. I don't know why.
There's just so many matchups. It's so dependent on who gets what pick. But here's the gank.
Ascent is going to be jumping on in as we find ourselves back on the bottom side, because apparently it is more exciting than the gank going on. Yep, nothing really going to happen there. Camille's just going to back and wave as bottom side apparently was putting out more damage, even though top lane had the inside track and the numbers. But another Q is going to land there as Dean and Goblin looking to hunt. That's not going to find it there, but it's... Binding is down. Yeah, he is going to get it. A flash and a Q is going to come through. Ignite used. Dean going to be able to pick that one up. Now Goblin is running for the hills, looking to maybe possibly turn this one around. Going to lock him down once again. Flash going to be burnt. Curtain Call is also out. Mantra Key is in, but the flag and drag is in. Ivane only with a great Cataclysm to follow, finding the double there on the bottom side.
Yeah, have to wonder what was going through Boise State's mind when they had already picked up the kill. Both of them were incredibly low. You knew he still had the curtain call, and they tried to chase him down anyway. Of course, no idea that Ivane only was there to pick up the double kill. But still, I mean, you get one, you're both low health against somebody who has a pretty wide-range ultimate and a turret at his back. Interesting choice for Boise State not to just send the full disengage, hey, we got one, and kind of put Ivane only right back in the game as he'd been falling behind just farming those jungle camps.
Absolutely. And like I said, it's one of those timing situations there. They, again, weren't expecting it, but they didn't necessarily need to push as far forward as they did. Dragon going to end up in the hands of Hawaii. They're going to find themselves Infernal, so more damage on the board overall. But I just do really enjoy that setup and got to commend the side of Ivane only. Just not only the beautiful flag and drag that connected, but to follow it up there with the Cataclysm. Just perfect timing, perfect execution. And definitely worthy of the 2 kills. A nice little stun lock combo there from the bottom side. It's going to make Dean take a little bit of damage, but nothing too severe.
Yeah, good news for Boise State. The Jin didn't get any kills, so he's not going to be too much further ahead. He's still about 20 CS ahead of Goblin, and he does have those 2 assists, but if the Jin had gotten 2 kills, bot lane might have been all but over for Boise State, so there's a small silver lining, but still you never want to give Jarvan 2 kills right off the bat. Here comes the Twist Fate ult, though.
Looks like, yeah, we are going to be headed towards the bot side. All 4 members here for Hawaii. They are going to find Dean and rinse and repeat. I told you, 1.5 flashes are used. Gumeuzi going to find that first kill of the game, but does have 3 assists to the back. Meanwhile, Red Hot's just watching his bot lane unfortunately get picked apart. All 4 members other than this top lane who hasn't left decided to make that rotation down, find themselves a couple of kills, a couple of plates. Stellar moves there from Hawaii.
Yeah, great call from Hawaii, making use of that Twisted Fate ultimate. Boise State, in response, going to do about the only thing they can. Though 2 members of Boise State who did not rotate down, and eThug and Ascent going to pick up that Rift Herald. Going to maybe try and get some plate somewhere on the map, get some of that gold back that they did lose in that double kill in the bot lane. But Hawaii has definitely come with a strategy to focus on that bot lane. And they're doing it really well right now. Ivane only's gotten at least a kill or a flash every time he's come down. So Boise State's bot lane got to be ready for that Jarvan to repeat.
Yeah, we really haven't seen a whole lot on the side of Boise State since that successful gank with Hecarim in the mid lane. You know, if they could get the ball rolling in any of the other lanes, maybe. But again, the main lane has been this mid lane. Ascent here doing the best that he can. This game does become marginally different at level 6. I'm curious to see how the overall is. But just a textbook play from the mid lane leads to an open opportunity. And the bottom side of Boise State that was so, you know, comfortable pushing forward. Now is going to have to play behind the turret. As, again, we're looking towards objectives here, possibly a brush. He is going to find a couple of members. Finding is going to come out and find one there as Boise State makes a similar and mirror-esque rotation there to the bottom side, sending 4 members.
Yeah, Boise State's rotation down the bot one lane, not as clean. A little bit harder for Ascent to sneak into the fight with that hero's entrance. Got to land on somebody. Here comes Ivane only into the top lane.
And hookshot's going to land, flag and drag. X-Tech ultimatum. Poppy doing everything that they can, but is going to be dropped by I'm OP. So Red Hot's going to find his lost first death of this game here. And now a little bit more here, as it does look like Ethug going to be coming down on the bottom side. They're pushing for plates. A little interesting there. I'm not sure what exactly they were looking for, as both members from Hawaii are there. And another binding is going to find Ethug there. Follow it up, and that's just a long stun, 50% health, and they're going to continue to push, I guess.
Ethug does have the Rift Herald. They're trying to get it in range for the one-shot onto the turret with one charge. Here comes the rest of Hawaii. They're going to full rotate down, so they read that one pretty much perfectly. And Ivane only has done a really good job. There's something I mentioned at the start of this game is, you know, keeping an eye on the enemy jungler. How does he mirror Ethug's movements? And right now, 13 minutes in, Ivane only, probably for the last 5-6 minutes, has been the aggressor. He's been the one making plays, and Ethug's been the one who's just been farming, and that's a big reason why Hawaii's ahead.
Justice Punch and the taunt is there as well. The flag in the area. The ultimate there from Hecarim is going to be used. Shield is also going to go down. The ultimate is going to be used there from the Kaisa. She's going to find one. Just kidding. Dean is going to pick that one up as Krusty is looking to get in as well. Teleport in from the Twisted Fate is going to lock down Ethug, and now here comes Ascent. Just kidding. They are peeling on out. A double kill there for the Morgana, and Boise State just gets collapsed on once again on that bottom side, and Hawaii is going to find everything they want, and then some. Boise State able to make a scratch, but only one member wiped off the board, so they're definitely struggling right now.
Yeah, very unfortunate. Ethug's charge actually landing onto the turret, so that damage not going on to a champion. Also means that the Rift Herald's not going to come out in time for plate, so they're not going to get that extra gold that they were trying to earn back. And I will say, good job by Red Hot's. IMOP's teleport is on cooldown, so Red Hot did cancel that, preventing it from being a 5-man dive from Hawaii, maybe keeping somebody alive.
Oh, and he's going to put the body into the wall there, taking quite a bit of damage. He's going to find the 50% margin on either side, so he'll be able to get back into lane without feeling too spooked here. But yeah, I was able to get that big piece out. I don't really think they needed it. It's not that he didn't help him, but isn't the cooldown shorter if you get interrupted, or is it still, as somebody who doesn't ever take it, I don't know if it gets refunded for being canceled or not, because if they would have let that go through, if I'm not mistaken, it could have been a longer cooldown on that overall. Again, I could be wrong. I should probably read more patch notes. But a good attempt, but ultimately for naught.
Yeah, I think just keeping that Camille out of the fight, because the Hextech ultimatum, if it locks down somebody, it's probably another kill, shorter cooldown, you know, aside. So
Sure.
I think it's always the play to try and stop it. Interesting that Red Hot, after he stopped it, maybe didn't try and teleport in. You see the Rift Herald has to get panic dropped in the mid, so she's not going to get any value at all.
It's unfortunate. Gold card is going to come on out, hit with a handful as well, and they are going to stop this Rift Herald dead in its tracks. That always feels great. Ethug here is looking for an angle, not able to find it. No fight for Scuttle. We'll see, as Ethug is trying to decide. Tormented Soil is going to push them over towards their blue side.
And we see the Triforce coming out from Ethug. Talked about it last week. Usually the middle ground build for Hecarim. You can go Eclipse.
Teleport.
You want the damage, but here it comes.
Curtain Call is going to be pulled out. That's what I mentioned here. Big opportunity. Shots are coming through. Ethug jumping in on the backline. Hextech ultimatum is going to be used. A nice stop there. Flag and drag was canceled. Goblin is going to pick up OP here, as the rest of Boise State is doing everything they can. Tendrils coming out. Krusty going to find one there. And the Ocean Drake is going to go to Hawaii there, but no more deaths in the hands of Boise State. A good move from the Warriors there will find themselves a kill and a massive objective.
Yeah, they got flashes out of Goblin and Red Hot as well. Red Hot's unfortunately in the Cataclysm, tried to flash over the wall and just flashed to the other side of it. So a great job there by Hawaii. And that Jhin pickup proving to be really strong, because Uzi has a great job of just anytime Boise State's going to engage, even if he's not close enough to auto-attack somebody, he just opens up with the Curtain Call. He can get that chip damage and allow the rest of his team to be fighting at a health advantage. I really like how Gumi Uzi has been playing these team fights. A great job. You saw the onslaught of shadows from Ethug come out, not only for the fear, but he also probably wanted to get in range for a smite steal, didn't find it. So it's 2 dragons to 0. It's a Cloud Soul on the map. I'm sure Boise State and Hawaii would both love those, and just a Twisted Fate or a Galio ult reduced by 10% per dragon. we're going to see a lot of global ultimates depending on how long this game goes.
Oh, absolutely, and not many more. If Hawaii keeps continuing to do this, it looks like eThug is going to be dropping here on the Camille. Does have the Karma with him. Ultimate going to be used here by Twisted Fate. Does he decide to join the fray is the question. Looks like the answer is going to be a glorified no. Boise State had yet another individual in the name of Goblin there, just in case things got a little hairy, but they are going to find themselves a kill. Meanwhile, mid lane here going to continue to push in for the side of Hawaii, but this should allow for Boise State some very vital resources. Flag and Drag is in, the Cataclysm is also going to be there. Goblin just getting chunked on down. Ivane only going to be able to pick that one up with relative ease. And that's what happens, man. You stay too long in that lane with no one else to back you up. It's going to happen at some point. Justice Punch is in, gold card to respond.
Yeah, no flash on an 80 carry. Not much you can do to get away from that Cataclysm. Here's Smite battle over Shelly.
Looks like Hero's entrance is going to be burned. Flag and Drag brought back in there. Absolutely insane. It looks like Twisted Fate is going to be here, but it could be too little, too late. Is going to find one. The Kaisa is going to fall here. 3 more members of Boise State will stay. Pick up this Scuttle, and I'm pretty positive that Rift is going to be denied here if they can manage to push out this Camille here. Looks like they are going to go for it. Hook shot over the wall. Panic Pings coming on the southern side of the mid lane, but Boise State, great denial there.
Yeah, great steal by Twisted Fate of all people. Both jungler smites on cooldown, interestingly enough. I Learn Game picked it up, but as you mentioned, a great denial by Boise State. So that objective is just going to rot away, and the Broncos will take 2 kills for it in exchange. Nice job by eThug, knocking Jarvan back into the Hero's entrance, knocking him up in the air, and if you can land a Hero's entrance on somebody, they're usually going to be dead. A big reason why you pick Galio is the ability to get into a fight and also cancel out a ton of melee.
And, you know, the shield damage or shield that you give your team and stuff is like, that's pretty cool, right? But it is definitely that pop-up and the way that it allows your team to just swarm in that area. So great use there, and they'll be able to gain something out of that. And as we see, Boise State starting to surge a little bit here. Getting picked off, sure, as far as the top side was concerned, but they are holding together on these big fights, especially like we saw there at Rift Herald. The Drake will try not to pretend that just didn't happen here. But again, Hawaii just looking very poised here as we hit towards the 20-minute marker. With Baron going to be coming up, you start what is referred to as the Ward Wars Death Brush here. eThug is going to find this Jarvan here, but they are going to be forced on out. The rest of Boise State is in. Flash over the wall. The taunt is there, and the Zonius is going to be used. A shutdown there onto eThug, as it's not going to be enough. That Jarvan is stacked and going to pick up himself a double kill here. More damage coming out as Goblin's health bar suddenly takes a massive chunk and disappears. He's forced back under his tower on the top side, so another handful of eliminations there. Hookshot is in under the tower to do the empowered Q, and that is going to be a mid-tower top kill, and right now Hawaii looking phenomenal.
Yeah, Hawaii right now applying all of the pressure to Boise State, even when Boise State thinks they have somebody to death push. Great job by Krusty B in there. Red Hot's trying to do what he can, probably doing a little bit too much.
Yeah, it just did what, any good individual does, tries to hold the line, I guess. I guess maybe not in that instance there, but tower's going to fall. Yet another kill and another tower here on the top side. So Hawaii continues to push all that they have and then some. They're now going to get some deep vision here, but it looks like Hecarim going to be jumping in on, as well as the rest of the Karma crew going to be here. Hero's entrance is in. They are looking for this Jarvan. They're going to pop him up, but this dude just 1v3 teleport coming in on the north side. eThug is going to jump in and find the Twisted Fate here. Do they have enough damage? Flag and Drag is going to be good, and it looks like the stun is not going to be there. Does look like instead eThug going to pick up that shutdown. The charge is there. Triple kill for eThug. He starts it out and ends it for the side of Boise State. The Broncos find 3.
Yeah, interesting choice by IMOP to decide that was a fight worth teleporting in. Great use of the Onslaught of Shadows by eThug to cancel out the yellow card. And right now, Hawaii, I mean, they were in a very comfortable place. They just picked up so many kills. And now they're just going to hand over this dragon when it should have been Soul Point. Krusty and Gumi Yuzi going to try for the steal, but I'll be curious if it comes out.
Current call is going to come out. The Q is going to land. Was scary there for a second, but it is going to be secured there by eThug. Fastest smite in the West, and that got really low for a very quick second.
Yeah, great job by eThug. Body blocking on the curtain call, making sure Boise State could pick up their first dragon of the game. And this is something that we see plague a lot of teams. I mean, it's plagued Boise State in the past a couple of times. When you have a lead, you got to make sure you don't let your opponent just right back in the game with silly plays like that. I mean, the teleport in, giving eThug a triple kill, putting him right back in the game. giving the Dragon away for free when you probably could have just contested it and you know you could win a fight. Very interesting choice by Hawaii. They still got the 5K lead. They're still definitely in control, but if Boise State can kind of bait them into being too aggressive, Boise State has the game plan to get right back in it.
The pick comp becomes picked kind of situation, as it does look like eThug is working on just that. These jugglers going head-to-head. I mean, you got to notice that as far as eThug is concerned, he's 7-2. The opposing jungler, again, 5-2 and 7. So those resources are starting to kind of get a little close to balance. That gap has shrunk quite a bit. That's, you know, triple kill here, triple kill there for either side. It seemed to work out pretty well for both of these teams. And it's going to be an explosive team fight. Whatever comes up next, despite the fact that the teleport is down from the side of Hawaii, Boise State can get the numbers advantage here if they want it, but instead, again, the Ward Wars continue here by Baron, just making sure nobody has the upper hand, at least as vision is concerned.
Yeah, and that is the one thing that I definitely like about Hawaii's comp and concerns me about Boise State's comp is you look across the board, everybody on Hawaii is trying to bring damage to the table.
Proto Belt gold card, hit him with it, stack the deck, he's gonna pop him out with the ultimate, should be able to get out of there, never mind, here comes the ultimate to finish this thing out. Breaks line of sight, but is going to get gold carded. I learned game, burned everything and then some for the Poppy. But it's going to find the kill there, solo kill nonetheless. And again, Hawaii just making no mistakes here as they're gonna find themselves another pickup.
Yeah, and that just really kind of puts an exclamation mark on the point I was trying to make is that everyone on Hawaii, sans the Morgana because she's the support, can do damage and can win a 1v1. Boise State's built around a more tanky team as eThug's going to go in.
Absolutely, and it looks like it's going to be burned all over the place from the side of Boise State. They are going to put in the Justice Punch. The taunt was used. Proto Belt is there. The wind's going to land, but it looks like eThug just has to swing his spear around to pick that one up. Meanwhile, bottom side is going to be destroyed there with the help of Jarvan. Hawaii finding yet another one, and Boise State needs to find some objectives, man. If they could find a tower, they would be loving life right now. Looks like they'll put some pressure on the top side. May not even finish it out here as there are pings here towards the Baron. Find more wards and make sure they don't get it for free.
Yeah, if you're Boise State, maybe this is where you try and make a quick play on Baron since IMOP is dead for 10 more seconds and does not have the ability to teleport in, except they're going to opt against it. Couldn't find another pick. Really liked Hawaii using that kill in the top lane to pick up a bot lane turret, making sure that they are always getting something when Boise State is also getting a kill across the map, and that's a big reason why they are still in the lead. And they're setting up very pretty for any team fight that comes out. If nobody can get to Gumayuzi, he's just going to absolutely rain destruction down 2-1-9, 212 CS, got the collector for that 5% execute. Boise State's got to be careful. They've got to find a way to get on that Jhin, or he is just going to say it is curtains for you.
And like we mentioned, curtains. The curtain call is not only strong as like a physically damaging situation, the vision it gives you is also massive. It looks like Boise State going to collapse here on this mid side. They are going to put out some serious damage here. They just need any resource. Binding is going to land, but the tower aggro is not anywhere near them. Smite is going to come on down. Jhin is here as well, but it looks like Poppy going to be moving this line forward. Another binding lands. Ultimate is going to be coming in here from Twisted Fate. He's on the back line. Curtain call is here, and it is curtains for another member of Boise State. Goblin is going to go down. Poppy trying to get out of there as quick as her little legs will carry her. Gonna sidestep the Q there, but the gold card finishes that one out. Krusty is unstoppable. Hextech Ultimatum continues to wreck here near the Baron, and that is a massive 4-4, I believe, 0 exchange in favor of the Warriors.
Yeah, great job by Hawaii. Immediately going to turn that one on to Baron. There's nothing Ascent can do as a lone remaining member alive, so he is just going to give that one over. And Hawaii give up the tower and then immediately turn the fight on Boise State with roots onto people like eThug on that Hecarim, not allowing him to get to your back line, just absolutely shut that horse down in its tracks. And Hawaii has been playing really an excellent game here in the first 25 minutes. They've almost always had an answer for what Boise State wants to do, and then they've been able to re-aggress on Boise State right after the Broncos get caught.
I mean, and that was kind of scary from the get-go. Once we saw that Hecarim was kind of in that no-go zone between two towers and the rest of the team collapsing, it was pretty much done at that point. The curtain call to follow and just an absurd amount of damage. Again, the way that Hawaii is able to just absolutely dominate these lanes has really been paying dividends. It doesn't matter where you are. If they find you, there is usually one, if not two other members who are there to collapse. We saw that work super well on bottom side in the early game and is transitioning beautifully here into the mid.
Yeah, Hawaii, couple of moments where you thought, okay, maybe they're just getting a little bit too far ahead. Maybe they're trying to think they can 1v1 everybody, but they've come back and Island game with a nice stun. There is the Cloud Drake for them as well. So two objectives uncontested. They're on Soul Point. And Boise State reeling right now, trying to find a way back in the game. Unfortunately for them, It's basically E-Thug and everybody else. If you look at the scores, 8-3-2 on that Hecarim. Nobody else even positive. Ascent the closest one at 0-1-7. And who's going to be that follow-up damage for Hecarim? And that's what Boise State needs to find out very quickly.
Well, they were just gifted a handful of resources, so that'll certainly help as well. They need to get this bottom side tower as well and start pushing their vision up as best as they can. Again, we were talking about how if they get caught, that is it. They're getting caught in their own places, you know, their own under tower kind of stuff, their own jungle. And it's not from a lack of vision as it is just the way that Hawaii are rotating throughout this map. But it looks like E-Thug's got a case of the zoomies. He's coming over the wall. He is going to find this Jhin here as the ultimate is coming in from Twisted Fate. It's going to come down and pin him down. Goblin taking a serious amount of damage now is going to use the Killer Instinct to shoot on forward. I'm sorry, the Gale Force, if I'm not mistaken. Stun there is going to be huge, but they are not done yet. Curtain call here in this very pinchable spot as it does look like Goblin going to be smashed, but the Justice Punch, I'm sorry, the charge there from the Poppy is going to find the Jhin, and another one there. Vayne only going to find the first one. It looks like Morgana going to pick up yet another one. Hextech Ultimatum is going to be used. The Justice Punch, I'm sorry, the Hero's Entrance used, but to no avail as it looks like Krusty gonna finish that one out. Is godlike, and E-Thug all by his lonesome must trot off to the opposite direction of the side of Hawaii, or he will also join his team in the gray screen land.
Yeah, that was just a amazing flash by Gumayusi. Looked like he was absolutely dead to rights. Gets a flash over the wall. Nobody for Boise State can pursue. He does eventually get taken out by Red Hot, but at that point Boise State had expended all of their resources trying to hunt down the Jhin. And if it wasn't for that flash, if Jhin gets caught, I think that fight goes another way. But Gumayusi able to make Boise State use everything for nothing. Then they kind of get caught upriver without a paddle. I love that play from the Jhin. It'll be a death and nothing more on his score screen,
sure.
But absolutely the reason Hawaii won that fight was the Jhin play.
Yeah, and like I said, all he was trying to do was basically not only pick off the one member of Boise State who was squishy enough, but to get vision of the entire team. Boise State was clearing it out, / not giving them any time to respond to it. So his ability to, I guess, cover the field, if you will, was absolutely pivotal for the side of the Warriors. But again, Ascent was able to get on in, close it out relatively quickly. But the overall means Hawaii is absolutely smashing right now. 12 kill differential here as we start eking towards yet another dragon fight here in the very near future. Boise State absolutely has to stop this. This Soul Point is available for Hawaii if they manage to collapse on this.
Yeah, this is something Boise State has to fight over.
Binding is going to land, but it's not on E-Thug as he's going to continue. Looks like their smite is going to come in. A Flag and Drag is going to find one. Cataclysm to follow as E-Thug is looking for a way out of here. The ultimate is going to be used there from Twisted Fate. They are going to focus their efforts there onto E-Thug, who's actually going to go around ultimate over by towards red, and he might actually get out of there. The fancy feet as he trots off saying, nay, nay, you can't catch me, baby. And he is gone with the wind, as that was one of the craftiest plays I've seen in a long time, despite the fact it being a defensive move nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, yes, you got the 1,000 gold shutdown. E-Thug not quite out, though.
Oh, looks like Hextech Ultimatum is going to catch him. Never mind. The whole nay comment is not going to be useful here, I guess. Or ever, for that point. But Hookshot is going to come through. They are going to stop the rest of that with the Poppy, but it looks like so much damage, so much slow, and Poppy is locked down. They're going for the inhibitor, and they will find it with ease.
Yeah, I mean, the 1,000 gold shutdown for Goblin killing the Morgana, great, sure. I mean, the supports probably should ever have a 1,000 gold shutdown, but, you know, 7, 1, and 11 going into that fight, big reason why Krusty had that. But
sure.
Once again, it's Boise State putting all of these resources onto a target. This time, it's probably not the right target, because what do you get for killing the Morgana? A shutdown. Exactly. You don't get any. You don't stop any damage in the fight. You don't. I mean, it's got to be I Learned Game. It's got to be Gumayusi. If those guys are still alive and those aren't the first pick target for Boise State, the fight's not going to go in your direction. So just target acquisition for the Broncos. Target picking has not been really very strong for Boise State so far. They've been blowing a lot of resources for guys who shouldn't really matter and should never be priority targets.
And again, it's kind of the way their hands are being forced here at this point as the differential just continues to glow. E-Thug is looking for something here. He's trying to find the Camille. Gonna put out, oh my gosh, that was a huge amount of damage. Ultimate from Twisted Fate is going to be here. Hero's Entrance is going to be used as well. They are going to find the Camille. Hextech Ultimatum is going to be burned, shut down. They're going to E-Thug, as it looks like they are going to find this Twisted Fate here and bop him all over the place. But Krusty is going to find find Goblin here in the fray. Flash going to be burned there from the Jarvan, from his own Cataclysm. Justice Punch plus the Chilling Smite, and the Stopwatch going to be burned there from Ascent. They're going to re-engage, and they're not going to find one. Red Hot here continues to put pressure. Headbutt is good, and into the wall. The Jarvan is not able to get over the wall. A nice binding there, as it looks like Morgana pumping out serious amounts of damage as well. And Gloomy Uzi going to find one there on Ascent. The fight somehow still not over. Both sides willing to pick up their losses, and Boise State finds a +1.
Yeah, for Boise State, though, they've got to be careful. Gumi Uzi's still at full health, so is Krusty. They can just full rotate down to that dragon and pick up the soul immediately. I'm curious if Boise State wants to contest. They're going to walk over a pink ward. You can see the pings are here. There's the teleport. They're going for it.
It looks like they're going to try, and it's going to take a lot. Another teleport going to be used there. They're not even going to be able to fight this one. They're just going to hand that one over. But now possibly a secondary engage. Shots coming over the wall, but not going to connect. Vision going to be cleared out. So that is a soul over for the side of Hawaii, and they're going to love that too. Burning those cooldowns as far as the ultimate is concerned, the extra movement speed. Life is bliss as far as Hawaii fans are concerned.
Yeah, Hawaii played that one perfectly. I was almost going to say at that point when IMOP got caught at that second turret, just rotate over and pick up the dragon. Instead, they go for the full-fledged team fight. They lose it. As you mentioned, Boise State wins 3 for 2, but they end up picking the objective, so it doesn't matter. They're fighting over Baron now.
They got the tendrils there. They're going to be able to continue pumping out as much damage as possible. That is a huge Jarvan. Curtain Call is going to be used. Binding is going to find one of the tankier members of Boise State. The poke on the left-hand side is doing wonders. A nice binding there is going to find Ascent. The damage is out, and it is a fray as the ultimate used there by Hecarim. Goblin is going to pick up Ivane only. Hero's Entrance is going to be used on Ethug as well. One more in favor of the side of Hawaii as Camille is going to find one. Twisted Fate, yet another, and Goblin is also going to be removed from the battlefield. A double kill there coming out from Camille. Could very well be a third here. Winds of War as well as the Justice Punch here, but he's got some friends in the wings as well, so Ascent is going to need to get out of here. Walking over the Tormented Soil. Gold card for special effect. Justice Punch is in, but a 1-2 there from the side of Hawaii will capitalize on that one, and this is looking very dangerous for the side of Boise State and the rest of the crew.
Yeah, Hawaii, once again, team fight has been able to bait Boise State into being the aggressor. Whoever they've jumped on, be it Gumi Uzi, be it Krusty, be it Ivane only, has been able to get away, and then the rest of the team just turns on, and the Boise State health bars are incredibly low. Even though they got the first kill, there's nothing they can do to sustain throughout the rest of the fight. It's just up to Dean right now to hold off the base. Baron probably a bit greedy from Hawaii. They could have easily ended the game if they wanted to, but we'll see if it actually ends up mattering. But for Boise State, they've just got to find a way to get a kill without, every single member being at 50% health and then being in a 4-on-5 and just absolutely getting mollywopped by the rest of the team.
Dude, there's nothing wrong with getting a crucial Baron power play. There's nothing wrong with that.
That is true. I will never complain about the crucial Baron power play. I'm just saying sometimes it's just better to end the game than it is to pick up the sponsorship.
I am of that same mentality as well most of the time. But now, again, the phrase of the month, rinse and repeat. Just pick up this Baron, go do what you did again. You're even stronger now. You have really all of the resources that this map has to offer. And again, it's all coming from massive grabs from not only Twisted Fate, but this Morgana as well. Support being the supportiest of supports right now. And this Morgana is absolutely doing work, allowing for Jarvan just to open up a can and destroy anyone in Boise State's stead, if you will. So we'll see if Boise has one more fight in their bag, and if they do, they've got a long uphill battle from there. Top turret is going to be dropped here. The Baron-empowered minion is going to help out with that process, as well as what is to come next. So we'll see what Boise State will do, looking to kind of protect here on this mid lane, which will eventually become 2 turrets. Looking to go as everything's burned. Ethug looking for a fight. They're going to jump in and look for the Jarvan here as Ethug continues to push everybody else out. The damage is coming in, but oh my goodness, IMOP is going to continue to slaughter, and this is all Hawaii, all game, all day. The curtain call will spell an end to that. Just kidding. Final shot is only going to give him a double here. And now, just for you, Fish, I believe they're going to push this one down. But hey, they're going to even make sure they get another inhibitor just in case.
No, waiting for the minions to catch up. I mean, you look at Gumi Uzi's health bar, it's healed a little bit, but Ethug just spent everything in his kit to try and run down that Jin, and there was no way he could get there in time. And Hawaii going to pull out the first victory here in this best-of-3 series. Well, the Idaho Army National Guard is a proud supporter of Boise State Esports. The top plays you see at the end of every broadcast are presented by the Idaho Army National Guard, who invites you to take your impressive critical thinking skills into real time with more than 10 jobs offering a $20,000 bonus and your degree of choice paid for. The Idaho Army National Guard is the best team out there. Reach out on Twitch at iGuard Gaming. Hawaii picking up the first win of the night here in this series, week 2 of CLOL. The Warriors looking to get back to 1-1. Boise State trying to defend their crown as defending Mountain West champions and move to 2-0. But the Warriors making that difficult with a huge Game 1 win. And really everything that Hawaii did from minute 1 to the final minutes of the game was perfect. They baited Boise State in. They usually were able to escape with a flash or a well-timed flag and drag, and then they absolutely turned on Boise State once everything was on cooldown.
Well, and it was just a very slow early game from the side of the Boise State Broncos. I mean, only a couple kills on the board once we hit like the 14-minute mark. Once turret plates dropped, there wasn't really a whole lot of action. So, you know, these snowbally champs that they had never really were given the opportunity. And we saw signs of life that were quickly removed from that massive Jarvan. That Jarvan, again, was 1v9ing once you got to the midpoint of the game. They didn't even need the soul or anything like that for him to just absolutely plant his feet and turn on whoever, and getting multiple kills multiple times by himself in a very weird and eclectic situation. So I mean, good on Hawaii, man. Like I said, and then I give special props, of course, to that Morgana. Just unbelievable as far as the bindings were concerned. Like that's the game you kind of dream of.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a great job. I pointed it out in the start of the broadcast. Can iVayne only match what eThug did? They both got flashed about the same time. eThug came back and got the first kill, and then iVayne only stayed in the bot lane, turned that into multiple kills for his team, turned that into a dragon advantage, and never looked back. And as you mentioned, the Chizu was basically 1v9ing. Well, that's going to do it for Game 1. Huge win for the Warriors. Can they do it again in Game number 2? Or can the Broncos force us to a Game number 3? That's all to come here, but it's going to be after a short break, and then we'll be back with Game number 2.
Legendary parts for legendary wins.
Here are a couple lessons I've learned over the years. Friendships come in all shapes and sizes. And always buckle up. Seatbelts save lives. That's a rule we can all live by.
Visit NationalGuard.com to begin your guard adventure.
Welcome back into the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. It's week 2 of the C-LoL tournament. Boise State and the rest of the Mountain West fighting to be in those top 4 spots to make it to potentially the playoffs, where Boise State and Nevada were last time representing the Mountain West in the fall semester. The Broncos, the defending champions, the target on their back, incredibly large, and Hawaii proving that right now, at least through one game, they've been able to hit it with a lot of success. As the Warriors picking up what looked to be on paper, Jizu, as probably one of the biggest upsets ever. Have to see if everything we saw on paper was what actually meets the eye. We'll see if that holds true in game number 2. But for right now, everything that Hawaii did was absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, one of the more interesting things is that Twisted Fate was not on any of our radars as far as some of the things that we were seeing as far as this crew is concerned. And to be quite honest, that was a pretty stellar performance from somebody who didn't have a Twisted Fate on their registry at any point in time. And the rest of the crew followed suit.
Yeah, it was absolutely incredible, and maybe they're going to be one of those top 4 teams. I know from what I had gathered, the early predictions, Boise State, Nevada, and Colorado State, that was your top 3 teams in the fall. UNLV probably would have been a number 4, but the Rebels did not get in. And San Jose State was maybe that 4th-place team. Hawaii lost to the Spartans last week, but it was a 2-1 win. So maybe Hawaii's challenging for that number 4 spot. I think it's really up for grabs, but anything's up for grabs as Nevada lost their first game last week to Colorado State, so they are trying to obviously come back from behind, and Boise State on the verge of being 1-1. Even the Broncos needing 3 games to knock down Wyoming, who wasn't on anyone's radar. So early semester games can go any direction, no matter the sport. Sometimes players just trying to shake off the cobwebs, and right now Hawaii's on the hot streak. We'll see if the team of IMOP, Ivane Only, I Learn Game, Gumi Yuzi, and Krusty can get a clean sweep over Red Hot's Ethug, Ascent, Goblin, and Dean, or if we are in for a game 3. Because right now, as you mentioned, just Hawaii came out of nowhere with some of these picks. I mean, these are champions that you see from time to time, but you don't see them all the time at the top. They even gave the Kaisa over to Boise State, who right now is considered that first pick AD carry, and they had the blue side. So the Warriors, they came with a plan. They executed it perfectly. A really, really good win to them, and they read Boise State perfectly. It was, let's bait everybody in. Once all those resources are expended, let's immediately flip the fight on them, land the gold cards, and away they go. And as you mentioned, Krusty didn't feel like he missed a binding. Probably, one of the best Morgana games we've ever seen played. So can Boise State answer? Morgana maybe in the ban list here, maybe Twisted Fate. I mean, there's a lot of things that Boise State probably has to take away here. And I'll be curious what they can do with their 3 bans in the first phase.
Absolutely. And again, we were saying as far as like the team setup was concerned, we didn't really see Kaisa get to that pop-off point.
Yep.
Again, that came from all of the vision focus, and I mean like overall vision, not just wards, on that bottom side. I mean, we saw 2 4-man ganks within minutes of each other, and just what was expended to, essentially storm that game forward for the side of the Warriors was all down there. So I think this game ends up completely different if that is not necessarily the situation. But again, when you got a Poppy on the top side, a Galio in the mid lane, and then as far as, anything else, you're going to go for that bottom side. It's looking real juicy when everybody else is super tanky and hard to get a hold of.
Yeah, we see some of the replays here from game number 1, and it felt like even plays like this where Boise State's going to come away with 3 kills, IMOP still picks one up in the process, and Hawaii was able to put out so much damage even when they were outnumbered. And Gumi Yuzi, those curtain calls were fantastic. Baits Boise State to chase him in. He's able to get away, a combination of the Morgana shield or his flash, and then immediately flips the script on Boise State. And you mentioned it. Multiple 4-man ganks in the bot lane. That is what something like Twisted Fate in the mid lane enables you to do. He could just immediately appear down there. Galio's ultimate, about the same time structure, but you have to appear on a player, so you can't always put yourself in the perfect position. And I just think the communication for Hawaii was just next level, where it was Ivane Only knew he was going to be down there. Let's send the Twisted Fate down there. Ethug jungling can't get down there in time on that Hecarim. And it was a really well-played game by Hawaii, and they also just kind of stomped in objectives as well. Boise State getting just 1 dragon, and the 1 Rift Herald they got went to waste, because I'm a big believer if Shelly's not getting plates, there's really not a whole reason to do her unless she gets a tower, or to be able to do it and kill her. Because unless she gets a tower, you don't really get much from that.
Well, and again, as far as we're talking the Rifty, first one got dropped mid and danced for a couple of seconds, and I believe the second one was stolen away by the aforementioned Twisted Fate. So as far as objective is concerned, yeah, it was absolutely in favor of the side of the Warriors. But again, any team, any day that we were talking about, the good news is all of these series, or at least the ones that we've been involved with, have gone to 3 games. So like, you're getting your money's worth, or at least your time's worth for that matter.
Exactly. I mean, they have made sure that you're in for a marathon of League of Legends. As we hop hop back in to the Game 2 draft meeting. Once again, we are joined by our draft expert, Glovely. And the first question I would throw to you, Glovely, is are you shocked that Boise State, after that loss, not opting for the blue side? Once again, they want to go second, picking red.
It is certainly a rather strange decision. You usually see a lot of teams go blue side. If you run the overall numbers in League of Legends, there is that sort of slight advantage to being on blue side. Sort of like when playing chess, there's like a slight advantage to playing white just because you get to go first. But overall, it's not going to make huge differences. Maybe it might affect what you want to run in the top lane or the bot lane, because that decides who's going to be leashing for whatever jungler that you pick up. So it could be that sort of a strategy there.
As we see the bans coming through here, same standard bans for Hawaii we saw in game number 1, Renekton, Nidalee, and Rumble. That Shyvana is actually a Seraphine, and they're going to take away the Jhin this time, the last pick for the Warriors coming in. Potentially the most clutch, especially in those early games. And there's that Camille as well. So 2 target bans for Boise State this time, trying to take away some of the stronger champions that Hawaii brought out in game number 1.
I'm glad you mentioned that Seraphine ban, because I thought it was actually a Shyvana ban. I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Again, just a super strong champ. Get rid of the bottom side. Again, you've seen what the Jhin can do. Just don't even give him access to that. And I like the Camille removal. You've seen what she is capable of doing, so you might as well get that off the table in its entirety. Again, I'm curious to see what Red Hots decides is his priority pick. I watched him again. I saw that Poppy earlier today. Not that I'm not a huge fan of it, but it just seems like right now the top laners, there's so much more that they can do other than just be a big rock and a meat shield at this point. And as far as what Poppy offered, I don't know how I felt about it, but you mentioned it as a first pick. And wouldn't you know it, we get the Kai'Sa right off the bat.
And this time, Hawaii is not going to let that opportunity slip through their hands. Boise State going to run it back with the Galio. Kind of shocked that they left the Twisted Fate on the table, because I thought Eiler in game played it incredibly well and set up so many ganks. Etha going to go on to that Kindred. We saw him play it incredibly well against Wildcard Gaming last week in Upsurge. So many ults used to deny what would have been would-be death. We'll see if he could do that again. Maybe trying to hop onto Gumayuzi in the backline, and this time he'll have that added defensive capability. And I would not be shocked if you're Hawaii. Boise State saying, hey, look, we're going to bring back the Galio. Maybe Dean rotates it down into the bot side this time. There is no reason you don't just pick up the Twisted Fate here if you're Hawaii, unless you think Boise State's got something up their sleeves.
Yeah, you might as well. It absolutely worked out for you. And in spades, there it is right there. So the gold card coming on back. And then the interesting thing is once that gold card lands, it allows for the Killer Instinct to be used from the Kai'Sa. So not only are you getting latched on by one person, but you now have a second person right on top of you. And Graves, one of the most predominant jungles right now, just in offer what he offers to the field. The smoke screen, the collateral damage is huge, and just his ability to kind of maintain and control these big objective fights is huge for the side of the Warriors.
Boise State going to pick up the Ashe as the last pick, something they love to put Goblin on. Maybe that even might mean that is that Galio support, because usually when Goblin's on the Ashe, it means that they want Dean to roam. They know they can trust him with that crystalline arrow to be able to stop any gank coming his way. There's that Morgana ban for Boise State, and as well the rest of the bans filtering. Lovely, what are you seeing from these first 3 picks here for each side?
My immediate thought is I really like the pickup of the Ashe for the side of Boise State. One of the things I had trouble doing in the previous game was engaging on targets. They were almost entirely reliant on Ethug to be able to close that gap, and it's likely that they're not going to get the same sort of engagement this time out of their top lane either, with that Ornn being banned away, most likely going to be the Malphite if they continue with this. So that still gives them an opportunity to engage, which is something they struggle with because the Hecarim was the focal point of everything they wanted to do. But as soon as Hecarim gets caught by a binding, or gets caught by a gold card, or gets caught by some form of crowd control, their entire engagement fell apart. With Ashe, you don't have to worry about that. She can engage from across the entire map if she wants to.
Well, and I just love what Goblin does with that champion as well. His, macro as far as in those fights is absolutely insane. And the ability to lock down an entire crew of people is very similar to like what we saw with the side of Jhin and the curtain call. So how do you respond to that, Glovely? I mean, how do you find a way into this Boise State backline?
I mean, the easiest way would be a flank, of course. This is actually going to be the lock in there, so one potential option being taken away, that Trollpo would really allow you to get over the Galio. Another option is, of course, to use some form of knockback, which would be especially useful for shoving you outside of a Kindred ult or away from a Galio taunt.
Right.
The Fizz pick is interesting to me. I know with Pro Draft there could be some errors because the Fizz pick came in before Hawaii's last ban. Don't know if that was just, Pro Draft as we talked about with the Seraphine actually being Shyvana. So it is going to be the Fizz, but that's an interesting pick. That caught my eye. I mean, Ascent has definitely been able to kind of play any sort of champion he wants, especially with that Rumble permaband away.
Right.
So I'll be curious. And there's that
boy.
Malphite that snuck through this time for Boise State, which I am curious. With an Ashe on the board, I don't know why Hawaii would ban Samira last. Definitely an interesting choice there.
I mean, it's, at this point, when it comes to collegiate play, I just don't ask questions anymore.
That's true. That's right.
But I have a soft spot for this Janna pick. I have had a miserable time playing that champion, but anytime she's against me, she absolutely puts me into a body bag. So I like the synergy on that. I don't believe it's like, I'm pretty sure it's going to be the Janna support. It could go into some obscure lane because you college kids are crazy. But what are you seeing now that we have both lineups here, Glovely?
Definitely some similarities to the previous draft, although this time Boise State drafting a lot more solid of an engage with the Ashe and the Malphite there. Not really something that you could just shove back with the Malphite being unstoppable and the Ashe being able to fire from across the map. Boise State definitely has the ability to pick some fights this time. On the other side, what we see from Hawaii is that they've still drafted that same disengage style, but with the Morgana taken away, they've substituted in a Janna, which is going to allow teammates to move around quickly, but at the cost of all that disengage being focused on pushing things away, keeping you off of your teammates. It's not going to be providing the same sort of damage we saw coming out in Game 1.
Yeah, and the one thing that really sticks out for me, Glovely, is it's almost more of the same from what we saw at Game 1. Everyone on Hawaii, outside the support, and depending on how the Gnar builds, is going to pump out a ton of damage. You look at Boise State's lineup, it's the E-Thug and it's the Ascent show. Goblin might be able to do some, but there's a lot of tanks. Are you worried, once again, Boise State's just going to run into the issue of if E-Thug and Ascent don't start one-shotting people, they're just not going to have enough damage in team fights?
I think you might be underestimating the amount of damage that a Malphite is capable of. I've seen some absolutely scary things once that champion hits level 6 and then suddenly, where's my health bar? It just vanished in this terrifying noise. But there is definitely always that worry of what happens if my champions that are actually dealing all of the damage go down. We did see in that previous game, all of those kills were focused onto E-Thug, and as a result, they didn't have anybody else able to dish out the damage necessary. That already being said, though, looking at the side of Hawaii, they only really have one tank champion available for them, and Gnar really more close to a bruiser, sort of on par with the Jarvan that we saw in the previous game, but without the lifesteal and healing that you'd get out of a Gore Drinker.
How do you feel about Gnar as a champion right now? Because he's actually one of the hot contested kind of... Is he in a good spot or no? I would like your take on it.
I think he's in a healthy spot, all things considered. I think Divine Devourer really suits him. He does have a couple of other options he can go for, but personally, I think that's his best available one. He's got a strong ranged matchup into a lot of the fighters and bruisers and tanks who are very popular right now. So overall, very healthy place for Gnar.
And Glovely, how do you see Boise State, if they're able to come away with the victory, how do you see them playing their team fights? Because I look at this team, and it's 4 champions who want to go in, they want to get in your face, and then it's an Ashe. So is Goblin just like the CC long-range arrow bot to set up an unstoppable force from Red Hots? Or how do you see Boise State playing this team fight where you have Goblin's going to be out on an island and everyone else is going to be up in melee range?
Well, there is the option that Goblin could be going for the Imperial Mandate build. You set up slows, prevent teammates from being able to prevent enemies from being able to engage on you. Just constantly push them back, push them back, push them back, which will allow opportunities for other teammates to find much easier engages.
Well, hopefully, Glovely, we get you back for game number 3, and it's going to be on Boise State to be able to reverse what happened in game number 1. Of course, Doc's Keys is always there to help them understand your comp, understand your win condition, respect their spikes, which I think Hawaii played perfectly last game, knowing when they spiked and when they could pick up kills and play your game. It's all brought to you by Count, who helps you stay safe online. Make sure you have safe payments. Of course, Valentine's Day right around the corner. You're trying to order something off of Amazon for one of your loved ones. The last thing thing you want to do is not be able to take her out on a nice dinner because you don't have any money left in your account. That would just be awful. So if you want that real-time fraud prevention and account protection and personalized customer experience from the 9,000 leading brands of payment providers, go check them out at Count.com, KOUNT.com. See if Boise State can reverse the trend, if they can make Hawaii the one who are looking for some extra protection in some of their lanes. I like the Kindred pick from Ethug. I think he plays it incredibly well. It fits his style. I just still look at that team comp. I'm like, all right, so the Unstoppable Force is going to go in. Dean's probably going to go with the Justice Punch and try and land a taunt. Playful Trickster in. What does poor Goblin do on the back line all alone? And that's where I'm worried for Boise State.
And we're just going to have to see how this plays out. As I like to say, you may have a World Ultimate, you still have to hit it. And if that doesn't happen, if you're not landing those Enchanted Crystal Arrows, things can get pretty bad. But we got some early aggression here towards the red side, Boise State's jungle. Just a little bit of ward placement, no first bloods in the first 60 seconds.
And it was a great ward by Red Hots. Saw that 4-man crew walking his way, said, all right, I'll just back away. Ethug, though, going to do that red buff right in the face of Hawaii as they have a ward there. And the other thing that I did want to point out, and it's sort of the inverse of what I was talking about, is everyone on Boise State besides Goblin has a way to get in. Everyone on Boise State besides Goblin also has a pretty reliable way to escape I Learned Games yellow cards from an ultimate.
Absolutely.
So I'll be curious if that Twisted Fate gets a little bit more nullified now that there's a lot of escapability on the side of Boise State outside of Goblin.
Watch it just get eaten up by the Playful Trickster. That would be so annoying in that lane. I mean, again, I'm not sure the mana cost because I'm not a mid player by any means, but it's just one of those opportunities. So they'll be able to deal with it better than they did last game. I do still feel like a lot of that gold card damage, if you will, whether it was the actual damage or the situational problems, came from Boise State being forced to aggress. They don't necessarily need to do that as strongly as they did. It's not just go horsey go kind of thing. It's a little bit more stylish. I'm trying to find the right word here, but we'll see if Boise State can set it up. And I would not be surprised if at level 6 on the second, if Red Hots doesn't jump in and smash this Gnar in his face.
Either smash Gnar or so I like to. Nice flash already got brought out there by Dean. That Galio in the bot lane has definitely caught some teams off guard, but when I like to play Malphite top, and I think you've been in some of those games, Chizu, where it's like, all right, I'm hitting 6, the ward needs to be down, I am teleporting as I learn Unstoppable Force, and I'm coming in, and I think that might be something where we saw it be, let's make sure Gumi Uzi gets ahead. Right. I bet you for Boise State could be, let's get Goblin ahead and put a lot of resources down there. Would not be shocked if that teleport goes bot lane as soon as Red Hots hits 6, if the Hawaii bot lane is in a good position.
Absolutely. You know, I just kind of forget that you go into other people's lanes because I'm the worst roaming support of all time. So that is a very big possibility there on that bottom brush, so we'll need to keep our eyes open for that. But it's just a knowingness of the champion. You know, watching him in his streaming hours, how much he puts on down. As Ascent is actually going to jump on in, Playful Trickster down. It looks like that Whirlwind's going to land here. Some extra damage coming out. Is Dean going to be chunked to about 50% health as those stacks start to go up? Electrocute is going to spark there in the mid lane, but again, just more of a back and forth, dare I say, tickle fight in all of the lanes.
Yeah, right now, about the only thing that's really happened is that flash from Gumi Uzi. He does have the cleanse, but I definitely think is probably the overall better summoner spell. As here we go, here comes Ethug. He wants that gank.
Taunt is going to land here, and they do have the jungler in the wings. Whirlwind is not going to land, but Flash is going to be used. Kindred is here trying to get as much damage out as possible, but not going to find anything there. A good awareness, a resource expended. It's about as good as it gets short of finding a kill.
Yeah, I saw Ethug rotating down, and I knew he wanted to make use of Gumi Uzi not having that flash. Now, Krusty doesn't have it either. Dean probably engaging about 3 to 4 seconds too early so that Ethug could not get in and proc the 3-shot from Kindred, so that'd be something to watch out for if he wants to go back, as we talked about. Just wait and reset.
Yeah, and once again, Ascent is getting poked around, bullied a little bit. The jungler is here. They're just going to push this wave, and he will head off onto the Boise State red side, try to maybe see if he can get something on the top end, or just clear out his opponent's jungle here. But right now, a very slow game for both of these sides. No one even making an appearance in another lane, which was completely opposite of what we saw last game.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Boise State, Ethug's first hunted neutral jungle camp was that top side Rift Scuttle, so it is not going to be picked up by him. Great job by Ivane, only recognizing that and prioritizing that so that Kindred cannot start to get to the point where her range and damage is just absolutely off the charts.
Right.
Have to assume the hunt passive probably on someone in that bot lane, and that's where Boise State wants to focus and pick up a kill.
Sure. You know, again, the bot side just doing everything they can to get this lane going. A relatively stellar job so far, as Dean is going to make sure they're not standing on a ward. If I had a dime for every time, I'd have quite a few dimes. But with that, they're going to ward up here towards the Drake. And again, just really nothing doing on either one of these two teams. Slight lead in the jungle as far as CS is concerned, but negligible at best. And a ton of pings coming out in that area, so I'm assuming that's where we'll be focusing next.
And you see that they kind of know where Ivane only is. I bet you they think they're trying to set something up in the mid lane.
Playful Trickster is going to come on down, and it does look like Dean is here if he is able to get a way in here. Don't worry, you also have your Kindred here if things get super weird, but it looks like it's just going to be a couple of wasted seconds here on the side of Boise State.
And Dean's got to pick up something here. He's only level 3. He's fallen behind Krusty in level. So they're going to need some value. You can see the pings coming out as he walks over a ward. So everyone's going to retreat. Ivane only hanging around on that bot side. Knows that the flashes are still on cooldown for his bot lane. And everyone's playing pretty safe here. Hawaii with the 500 gold lead, and that is about it.
It's a Scorcher here on Summoner's Rift. Nothing but farming simulators and... like, again, not even a hey, how are you? Oh, that ulti is going to land, so it does look like it's going to get the stopwatch out. But Ethug is here looking to put some damage on, but it's only going to be 50% there as the gold card is going to land and staunch all of that aggression there. But a solid move nonetheless. You're going to burn that stopwatch. It's going to be a while before they get that back. Dean with the Winds of War is going to do a little bit of damage, but negligible at best. Taunt is going to land as well. Whirlwind not making any connections here.
Yeah, flash coming up for Gumayuzi very soon. Don't think Ethug's going to be able to rotate down. Looks like him and Ascent trying to find Ivane only in his jungle. They're going to do just that. Red Hot's over the wall as well. He teleported back in. Unstoppable Force is on cooldown, though, so they don't really have an engage. Camera didn't even bother to let us know it was up there. They thought it was that boring of an attempted kill for Boise State. They're like, I love bot lane CS farm. Way more important than Ivane only running out of the jungle.
No, you engage. No, you engage. No, you engage. Both jugglers just hurling insults at each other as they counter jungle each other. But, I mean, hey, camera knows best at all times here. This does look like the red going to be picked up there from the Kindred. And we continue on here. 7.5 minutes and not so much as an awkward stare. It's just been a minion slaughter here for the last 7.5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, you look across the board, it's a pretty even split in the 4 major lanes where CS matters as Meganar comes out.
Just put it in. He's going to get the bot there, putting him up against the walls. Red Hot's here is going to be forced back under his tower. It looks like bottom side not going to have much here, but Red Hot should be able to stave this. I mean, we do need to pay attention as far as Ashe is ahead. Quite a sizable amount of CS. You can see that reciprocated in small as far as top side in favor of Gnar here. That's what you get with the range to melee disadvantage here. But again, Boise State just trying to do what they can here. It just always looks like Hawaii is just one swing ahead of the sword, if you will, as far as overall map control is concerned.
Yeah, just right where I was going, you see that Goblin's ahead, IMOP is ahead, mid lane, Ascent leaning in that way, but just depends on which way the wave's pushing on how far ahead he is, and then Ivane only with a decent lead. Nice stun though on the Krusty.
Oh, there's that slow that I was talking about, and is going to find first blood here. A lane kill here for the side of Boise State University. Really want to see that one again, but Goblin just goes beast mode. Finds himself a kill right there, and we'll have to see how that all worked out.
Yeah, I think Boise State's comp, when the comp they want to play is always going to be very strong as long as Ashe is in the meta, because the ability for that Crystalline Arrow, not only does it keep Goblin safe when he 1v2s as Dean goes out looking for a kill, you can get cheeky plays like that paired up with the Gallia where you land a stun into a stun, you chain the CC perfectly. There's no PvP trinket in this game.
Yep.
There's nothing Krusty can do but just sit there, take his hand off his mouse.
And they are going to love that as well. Playful Trickster going to be coming through. He is going to get out of there, I believe. Flash going to be used. Here comes the W from the Janna. The Electrocute is there. Ultimate also used there by the Graves, so, I mean, not necessary, but hey, it was there. And now Boise State will feel their first scratch as far as this match is concerned.
Yeah, and it's the one thing in this matchup in the mid lane when we get a chance to watch it that really you have to keep your eye on is the use of Playful Trickster for Ascent. The cooldown a little bit longer than the pick a card for Isler in game. So if he uses it to dodge the yellow card, he won't have it for the engage, he won't have it for the disengage. You saw him pre-flash. Krusty had to blow every summoner spell to hunt down that Fizz.
Neener. The taunt is there, as well as a jungler, and it looks like, oh man, Ethug gonna find yet another one for the side of Boise State University. They're gonna love that. No summoner spells having to be burned. Just great timing, great positioning, and use of skill.
Yeah, both teams doing a great job of rotating over to the mid lane.
They're gonna find this jungle here. This is a kind of a scary situation here. Red Hot, I don't believe, has used his ultimate yet. Hard for me to see. It's still up and good to go, so they can get something here. Winds of War going to be used here, but Boise State just going to peel on out of here. Pick up some of the fruit in the river here and get back to, I guess, the day in, day out here at this point. Boise State again finds a kill, but nothing much after that.
Yeah, I like the call for Boise State to not engage. It did look like there was a moment where I'm OP and Ivane only were standing right on top of each other. Any Malphite player is just ready to send, but I learned game was coming up in 3 seconds. If you full send there, you couldn't go from a 3-on-3 to a 4-on-3 extremely quickly because there is no other teleport in the game for Boise State. I mean, if the hero's entrance from Dean comes out, if he's able to rotate over there, maybe it's even, but I like the call of, hey, you know what, Twisted Fate can come up. We got punished by that probably a couple times last game. Ivane only. Unfortunately, can't quite get the smite off, so a quick reset there on the Raptor, but I like that play for Boise State.
Dean again trying to make his presence known is going to be found out there from the Graves. Clear out some vision, get set up here, grab the skull while we're at it, and Dean has just been all over the place. We were talking about him getting early movements into lanes, and we are already seeing it pay dividends and then some for the side of Boise State, especially here in this game. Again, a little slower pace on the overall, but Boise State comes out swinging right off the bat. Hawaii, though, holding very, very strong, and we can see some more action here if this gank goes through.
Yeah, here comes Ivane only. Ethug's not.
He's push his way, but great response there from Boise State is going to be able to get out of there. Sure, the Rift Herald is going to do a sizable amount to your turret, but still standing, still looking pretty healthy, so not too bad there for the orange and blue.
You saw I Learn game rotated down. Both flashes on cooldown still for this Hawaii bot lane. The Crystalline Arrow is up. We'll be curious to see if Goblin's going to try and pull the trigger once again and end up with another solo kill. Dean rotating away tells me that's probably not going to be the case. The ping's coming out. They want I Learn game, and I don't think there's any warrants to let him know.
Red Hot's doing some damage here. Nars coming through, but we shift to the mid lane. Taunt not going to land, so he's going to be more than okay with that. And Mega Gnar was actually pulled out there, so Red Hot was able to force that from the side of Hawaii, and that's going to help him there in the lane, because he should be able to turn around and smack this Gnar right in the dome if he wants to. Ultimate coming out. Flash is going to be used. They're going to land on the grab. Here comes the hero's entrance as well. The ultimate is going to be coming down. Lamb's Respite also coming through. Going to be used. Eiler Game is going to blow everybody up, but speaking of that, rock solid Malphite going to be jumping on in here, but he is going to be burned down as quickly as he entered there, and it looks like Dean is going to be forced out with Ascent as well. A crafty fight. I do believe Hawaii, though, comes out ahead 2-1 as far as those kills were concerned.
Yeah, flashing over to smite the jungle camp. Probably not the best use of that summoner spell.
You got a style on him. Come on now.
I mean, only if you type worth in all chat to let them know that it was worth it. But for Boise State, I mean, the Lamb's Respite was perfect. There was just too much damage after it ended. Even got the knockup from the hero's entrance onto a couple of them. So I like the attempt for Boise State. Again, would have liked them to err on the side of caution and wait and probably not commit that flash. But, you know, I guess you win some, you lose some. Goblin got a solo plate in the bot lane, so, I mean...
Right. I mean, silver linings, I believe, is the term you're looking for here. Because, sure, again, it's one of those situations. It's only a couple pieces of the puzzle, though. Again, if I'm not mistaken, that was pretty disjointed, the way that the CC was layered, as well as the ultimates for that matter. But you can see what they are going for. Add in the raw, unmitigated damage that is going to be this late-game Ashe, and you might have yourself something there, especially following up with the Crystalline Arrow, like we were talking about, and just some of the raw damage that can be put out, especially from a Fizz or the Malphite once, you know, things layer correctly.
No smite battle this time, and I think the other thing we've got to watch out for is how many stacks Ethug can get on that passive. Currently trying to track down Krusty, because the more stacks that Kindred can get, that's just more raw damage, and not only is it raw damage, an AD carry that has a weird GA built into the kit.
Well, Gnar here, putting on some pressure, is able to get Mega once again, so we'll have an opportunity to just kind of strut their stuff down here in the river, but Again, even game as far as the kill spread is concerned, the gold is showing a very similar tale. And that has kind of been the story since minute 1 here. Gnar going to be jumping on in, putting up Malphite into that wall. He is now going to be the smaller version of himself. Not as fierce, but just as tricky. But it does look like this Malphite should be able to farm under tower without any issue here. And again, Boise State going to look for this Drake here. Janna should have some vision here in the very near future. Whirlwind is going to come out. Ethug does have more than enough as far as getting this done is concerned. Second Drake over to Boise State.
Yeah, great job by Ethug this time. Putting a lot of pressure on the objectives, putting Boise State up 2-0 in Dragons. Infernal Soul, both teams going to love that damage. The yellow car lands onto Ascent.
He's fine. He's a slippery fish, man. He'll be just fine. Don't you worry about it.
See the assist pings coming out. Nobody's close. I'm OP has teleport, so does Red Hots. They can both join the fight. Boise State's going to realize there's nothing to be had down on that bot side. They're just all going to fall back. Ivane only trying to set a kill up in the top lane.
Ultimate going to come through, and that is going to allow for Boise State to get that. Oh, he missed it! A beautiful setup opportunity, and unfortunately just not able to get there in time. A great stopwatch for the side of the Twisted Fate. And you got to love that, man. If you're the side of Hawaii. All those resources used. Very similar scenario on the bottom side, this time in the hands of Hawaii, as the Twisted Fate's able to get on out and basically laugh at everybody else. But Goblin is able to get the volley down. He's doing some raw damage. A flash is going to be expended. Hawkshot is out. Volley coming through. Rift Herald number 2, Heraldina, if you will, looking to become a current member of the Boise State crew, and dash in there is going to be at least a little, hey, how are you? Playful trickster into the brush will allow them to get out. They got the Rift Herald, almost a kill solo there from Goblin, so good moves from Boise State.
Yeah, getting the flash from Krusty. Surprised that I Learned Game didn't try and rotate down. I guess they didn't have enough vision on him to feel that it was a 1v2, because the amount of damage that Twisted Fate's going to be able to put out, especially those yellow cards on to Ashe, even though she already has the Kraken Slayer, still going to be a very scary situation for Goblin. So Boise State, the aggression pays off this time, and we really haven't seen any teleports come out. That's the one thing. Neither I'm OP or Red Hots have really teleported into a fight, and those are the guys I want to keep my eye on, especially that Malphite as the unstoppable force is kind of what this comp is drafted around, and just being able to knock people up over and over again.
Oh, that's going to be a dead individual from the side of Hawaii. Teleport is coming on in. Hero's entrance is primed, locked, and loaded, but we're jumping on in. Meganar getting a 3-man knockback as it looks like Goblin is able to whittle him away. You see the Q doing work there. Meanwhile, ultimate from Malphite is going to be flashed. Lamb's Respite going to be able to save them and allow for Boise State to continue to hold this point. A couple of kills there for Boise State. They'll take it. Plenty of expended on both sides, but if you're a Boise State fan, you're more than willing to take that one. We take these, I believe is the trick.
It was a great play by I'm OP. He was able to stun Red Hots as all 3 remaining members of Hawaii, I Learned Game, Gumi Uzi, and Krusty were standing on top of each other, and had Red Hots been able to pull the trigger just a bit faster, that's a 3-man knockup and probably a clean ace for Boise State. So great job by I'm OP, sacrificing himself for the sake of the team. The Broncos still get first turret though, so that 2 kills does turn into a decent chunk of gold for Boise State.
Yeah, you're going to absolutely adore that. And it looks like we do have an opportunity here for a possible gank on the bottom side. Ethug just walked into lane and smacked them in the mouth and said, I'll take that kill. Your Krugs and a few of your minion underneath your own tower. The term is proxy. You had better get used to it, as Dean here looks like he's just going to walk on in, get the taunt, and they're able to put some damage down. Turret aggro being juggled there. Actually, Dean just takes it the whole time. Meanwhile, Ascent finds a lonely Graves all by his lonesome in the jungle. Graves being forced to flash as well smartly into their own brush. So Boise State all over the map has got thumbs up in every category.
Yeah, I have no idea what I Learned Game was doing there. His jungler's getting 1v1 to 50%, and he's like, all right, there's a cannon minion in that lane that I really need to get. Again, second time this game, I Learned Game has probably had an opportunity to 1-on-2 against Boise State, and he's opted not for it. So great game by him in game 1, maybe proving to be a little bit of a fluke.
Ascent is going to be caught out in his own jungle here, as Vayne is going to get out of there as well. Red Hot's making a rotate down. Meganar is there to slow that process, but not completely stop it. Red Hot's going to choose to go on back. Does see the mini. Gnar has tried to decide whether or not he wants this fight. There are 3 members from the side of Hawaii here, as it does look like they are going for the slow. They are going to get the bounce. The ultimate there to stop him. Red Hot's flashes right on top of him, because why the heck not? Unbelievable there for the side of Boise State, as Red Hot's jumps on in, flashes right down, and picks himself up a kill there.
OP has just started a surrender vote. What is your pick? When you get someone who pre-predicts you, lands the perfect ultimate, and then flashes nowhere on your dead corpse, it's not much you could do but say GG next, please. But I don't think that'll be the case for Hawaii. But man, what a style play for Boise State. I'm sure Red Hots wish that flash went somewhere else, but it looks good on stream, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, you know, I mean, you can't have everything that you want, but it does look like the fish is coming down. The ult is going to be used. Twisted Fate is deciding whether or not he wants to join this scenario. The answer is, never mind. Thumbs up going to be used for whatever reason. Boise State finds a kill on the bottom side, and it looks like that will set them up here for this Infernal Drake. Should be coming right about now. The question is, how are they going to go about this? Looks like they're going to send Goblin up to the north side. Ascent is still kind of waiting this one out. Go ahead, pick up your blue buff while you're at it and make your way down to the bigger prize here. We see everybody showing up for the side of Boise State. Hawaii is here as well. Winds of War going to be used. Nothing coming out. Volley is in. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow is going to land. They have found the Janna here. Stopwatch is going to be used. A shutdown as two members go down. Etha going to be finding the graves here. Drake is still up and in fact resets. What an ultimate there from Red Hot. We told you to look for it, and from the Drake pit, it lands and it does everything it needs to, and then some. Boise State with the near ace if the ADC wouldn't have fallen off first, and they'll be gifted a third Drake, putting them towards point.
Well, see what Gumayusi could do. No, he immediately realizes that's a bad idea. I was about to break into this whole monologue until the fight started too quickly to you about, well, you know, you've got Graves, who's the traditional, maybe best jungle stealer in the game.
Sure.
Smoke screen the jungler,
right.
Not able to smite. Versus Kindred, the best jungle steal denier in the game. You throw out the Lambs or Spite, it can't be killed. They just solo each other, basically. And so that whole point goes away. Boise State does a great job winning the fight, and I think that the one thing that I'm noticing this game that was present in the first game is we're not seeing the presence of iLearn Game and his ability to teleport right in on the back line and be able to delete somebody. He's the one getting deleted,
right?
And I think that's the biggest difference. Boise State, I thought they should ban it. They have countered it perfectly, and not letting Twisted Fate just get a free kill has been huge for them. It's a big reason why they're almost quadrupling the kill count.
Well, not only that, and again, I can pick this game apart piece by piece, but you have a Graves that is not, I don't know, fighting a 7-nation army all by himself, and you have a support who's not landing as many skill shots as they previously were. Meanwhile, that's exactly what I'm talking about. E-Thug is the 7-nation army killer here, as he's looking to go again, gets the smite down, puts out some damage. Enchanted Crystal Arrow is not going to land. Lambs or Spite is going to fall here, but it does look like the rest of Boise State is in. Playful Trickster Ascent will find one. Heroes Entrance the other. Graves will find the Kindred on their way down, but Boise State takes those. A 3 kills to 1 in favor of the orange and blue.
And this is when Boise State is operating at their best. This is when E-Thug knows he can go anywhere on the map. He doesn't care if it's a 1v2, 1v3, 1v4, 1v5, etc. He's going to go in. He's going to absolutely obliterate one target, and then he's going to have a really good chance at taking down the second one. Ivane only barely staying alive. The Lambs are Spike keeping him alive. And here's a teleport in from iLearn Game.
Oh, and he is going to be able to Playful Trickster out, but the gold card is going to land. There is that killer instinct that I was talking about. Ascent looking to pump out as much damage as possible is going to burn the Zonias here. It's going to be pushed by the Monsoon, and the shutdown is going to come over on the person that you would like it on if you're on Hawaii's side. You definitely need that extra gold there. And the first kill, if I'm not mistaken, for that Kaisa as well. So that could be very interesting for the Warriors here, but they find themselves one in the same way that they have throughout the course of the series.
Yeah, that's the play they're going to need time and time again from iLearn Game, is those abilities to teleport, get a pick. They're going to full-on send on this Baron, teleport in from IMOP. And this is going to be interesting. It's a 4-on-5, no ability for Ascent to get in, and how long does Hawaii stay on this Baron?
I mean, they go for it. You know, force the fight if you need to, but they don't. And at this point right now, Boise State is just being zoned so hard. The Malphite ult is up to watch for it. He's in, he's found one. Enchanted Crystal Arrow is going to be blocked there by the Gnar, but Gnar is going to find 2 on his push, but E-Thug is not going to stop. He's going to find a couple on the way out. The Justice Punch, the taunt, and that will allow for Goblin to do what Goblin does, and that is just destroy your team. Kindred with the double, and they say thank you so much for starting that. It may have been respawned in a sort of speaking, but that is our Baron here going over to Boise State University. They're first on the day.
Yeah, it was a great arrow block by IMOP to save the team. The problem is, instead of retreating and trying to help heal Red Hots, he tried to do what Red Hots did, which is go in on 3 members, knocked them all into the wall.
Right.
And there was no one there. He was just Yeah, cool. You're nice and big, and then you're not big
He
anymore.
did have the big hero play jumping in front of that Enchanted Crystal Arrow. That was pretty cash. Turns into Meganar, and that's about the extent of what that was. Again, was able to get the 2 pushes, but Boise State, again, just on the back of Ethug right now, smashing through these team fights.
Yeah, I mean, that was just the biggest difference. Red Hots had a little bit of help from Ethug. IMOP had nothing from the rest of Hawaii, and it's a big reason why Boise State starting to flex their muscle here a little bit, maybe closer to the scoreline we expected with the Broncos being the reigning Mountain West champions, but Hawaii still has a really good chance here. I think I Learned Game, he's starting to get back to that game 1 form of being able to get that pick. I think if we go to a game 3, that TF pick is going to be very, very interesting if Boise State bans it or if they allow it and kind of bank that I Learned Game plays like game 2, not like game 1. Here's an arrow, though.
Arrow?
Yeah, through the uprights, and it is good. 3 points to Boise State, but that's not worth anything in League of Legends.
Yeah, unfortunately, different game. This isn't Blood Bowl, but it is looking like a dire situation here. Mid-turret gonna fall, inhibitor surely in the very near future. Decision is going to probably be to rotate there onto the bottom side. Go ahead, collapse on that tower. It's the only remaining outer tower that you have access to. And again, as far as Drake is concerned, you still got a little bit of time there. This will give them position, this will give them vision, it'll give them, I don't know, pretty much everything a MasterCard gets you, which from my understanding is quite a bit.
Yeah, I think, you know, with everything else, there's MasterCard if you're worried about it, if I remember the commercials correctly. And
right?
So, I mean, yeah, this is Drake spawning soon. Probably your last chance here if you're Hawaii. If you lose this, it's all but GG, unless you maybe go a 4 for 5 here. As a Twisted Fate.
This is a weird setup here as Boise State's kind of caught out in their opposing jungle's red side. Ultimate gonna be expended. You see the pings coming through. They're looking for something. They are going to find the Graves. He is going to be removed. Hero's entrance is there. Justice Punch Flash. Taunt is going to find the Gnar. A double kill there for Ethug, as Boise State should be able to turn over to this Drake and pick any fight they so choose, as they will continue to push here. Just leave Ethug all by his lonesome. He's got it from here. And now Enchanted Crystal Arrow is coming down. It's not gonna find who they were originally looking for, but somehow manages to find the Twisted Fate, the flash, and the dash, and the smash as Red Hot finds I Learned Game, and he is wanting. Instantly looking at a gray screen. Bottom tower is destroyed. Bottom inhibitor is more than likely not long for this world as well, as Boise State with a commanding lead here in game number 2, looking to even this series at 1 apiece.
Yeah, Boise State played this game exactly how they want. They got Goblin 4-0-10. They got Ethug to 9-3-4. He can 1v1 anyone he wants. Ascent's now on the board as well. Boise
Fantasy
State
points.
farming those stats there. They're going to finish up the game, and we're heading to a game number 3 between these two schools. Couldn't have it any other way. Don't forget, Boise State Esports is always recruiting talented players, production, and broadcasters. Top talent, along with good grades and eligibility, can earn you scholarships as well. Sign up today by visiting boisestate.edu/esports for more information. And this Boise State team fighting their way back, forcing us to a game 3, Chizu, and this is how they drew it up. They got Ethug the ability to basically one-shot anyone he wanted. They got Red Hots on that Malphite for the disruption, and it's always a nice bonus when Goblin gets so far ahead. He can kind of not only be a CC bot, he can also 1v1 anyone he sends with the arrow.
I don't want to like brush the dirt off of my shoulder, but I'm pretty positive I said I want to see Red Hots on a Malphite and I want to see Goblin on Ashe. Like, I don't know if we can like roll tape and try to find that, but that's exactly what happened. Like, it's in the full composition of that just looked absolutely flawless from the side of Boise State. I mean, every single one of them by that late game were able to 1v1. And then as far as team objectives were concerned, I don't think really the Hawaii had an opportunity to stop the Drakes, let alone anything else at that point.
It really just looked like a mirror of what we saw in game number 1, just the sides flipped. Hawaii controlled every objective. Boise State only pulled off 1 Rift Herald, which didn't do anything. Hawaii this time only got 1 Rift Herald, maybe got a couple plates, but the gank they tried to synchronize with it didn't get anything. As you mentioned, there's nothing they could do over those dragons. The only time they came close, the junglers kind of executed each other, so there was no attempt for a steal. So a really good job by Boise State. I think that TF, to me, is going to be, what do they want to do with it in game 3? Do they think that I Learned Game's going to play like game number 1 if you're the side of Hawaii, or you're rooting for the Warriors? Or if you're a Boise State fan, are you hoping I Learned Game plays like it's game number 2 and kind of leaves his teammates out to dry just a little bit? Well, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with game number 3. Are the Broncos moving to 2-0, or can the Warriors make them both sit at 1-1? We'll find out after this short break.
legendary parts for legendary wins.
Here are a couple lessons I've learned over the years. Friendships come in all shapes and sizes. And always buckle up. Seatbelts save lives. That's a rule we can all live by.
Visit NationalGuard.com to begin your guard adventure.
Welcome back to the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. It's week 2 of LoL here, and right now Boise State and Hawaii fighting down to the very end as we're heading to a game number 3 to determine who wins this matchup. The Broncos are the defending champions, trying to hold serve and move to 2-0. Hawaii trying to get back to 500 and be at 1-1, which would put them right alongside Boise State if the Warriors are able to be victorious in game number 3. Joining me as he has all night is Adam Chizu McGuire. And Chizu, as we take a look at some of these replays, game 2 felt like kind of how game 1 felt if you're a Hawaii fan. Boise State in control most of the game, and they were just kind of able to prevent Hawaii from doing much of anything.
Sure. And again, I'm just astounded here as both of these teams are absolutely looking phenomenal. When given the right resources, they're definitely able to do whatever they want. And like you said, in game number 1, that was in favor of the Warriors. Game number 2, it was more heavy-handedly in the favor of the Broncos. So this game number 3 is going to be what is referred to as a barn burner, my friends. I have a feeling both of these teams now have something to prove, and I think they're going to try to expedite the process here. Both of these teams liking the heavy engaged junglers, and we'll see if that maintains here. The big question is, do they keep the Twisted Fate? I feel the answer is yes there, but as far as this game is concerned, it has been all about these two junglers and the way they've been playing.
Yeah, as we take a look back here at some of the replays, some from game 1, some from game 2. I mean, the biggest difference to notice is in those first couple replays where Hawaii was in control, it was I Learn Game just shelling out huge damage with those picket cards. And in game 2, he's nowhere to be found. He's dead in the fountain. He's not joining his team when they have a chance to get a pick. And I really think that that is going to be the interesting choice. I'm sure Boise State probably doesn't want to allow the Camille back in. Probably, they definitely, you can see the Broncos are not a fan of dealing with Seraphim, just banning her away over and over and over again. What do they want to do with Twisted Fate? I Learn Game's probably going to take it if it's on the board, and I'm going to be really curious if it's, all right, let's leave Twisted Fate up and see if we can bait him again, or if they're going to maybe say, all right, maybe we don't play with fire and we don't want to deal with that Twisted Fate, because that's going to be the one thing as we've talked about all night for LoL in the spring. 376 schools, 11 Mountain West teams. The Mountain West schools play a 10-game round-robin regular season, playing each other all once. The top 4 will advance, and the Mountain West winner and the Mountain West runner-up will advance to the LoL playoffs starting in early March. In the fall, that was Boise State and Nevada, so the two teams that everyone is gunning for right now in the early weeks. The Broncos trying to move to 2-0 with Red Hot's Ethug, Ascent, and Goblin and Dean, with Red Hot's Goblin and Dean on the arena stage, hoping for some good luck in Game 3. I'm OP, Ivane only, I Learn Game, Gumi Yuzi, and Krusty for Hawaii, trying to pull off quite the upset here. They did it in Game number 1. Can they do it in Game number 3? We will learn here very, very quickly.
Yeah, and I think if you are on the side of Hawaii, you absolutely have to ban this Malphite out. Do not let Red Hots do that again, because we saw from minute 1 he was able to do it. But again, there's plenty of options that they can run with.
As we see here the standings, some of the teams through multiple games. Colorado State, another one of those teams, third place in the fall, probably expected to be contenders for those top 4 spots. They took down Nevada in week number 1. That's why the Wolfpack, despite being runners-up, are sitting at 0-1 in Boise State 1-0. Hawaii 0-1. The Broncos trying to tie up the Rams. Hawaii's trying to create a big logjam at 1-1 in the middle. And I'll be curious to see, as we do for all Game 3, that means Doc Haskell's got to bring out everything in the book, even if it means the sweep the leg here. So Boise State, you know, when Doc Haskell's got his game face on, when sweep the leg's on the table, Chizu, we are entering win or go home territory in a sense.
You can't see the face, but by golly, can you feel its presence? It's just, I don't know if it's the paper or if it's the way that his headset perfectly rests on his head that he doesn't have to adjust it, or if it's that it hides super secret granola bars in there for when the players are hungry. It's just, I mean, Doc has absolutely nothing. Underneath that mask, just another fist. That's all it is.
Hey, I mean, when you get to Game 3, you got to bring out something special. It just means a little bit more. And so for both of these teams, I'm going to be really curious if they want to stick with what works, what's going to get bans away. Kindred, always a really interesting choice because she's not something that is considered very strong like other junglers like Grave or Talia, but the way that Ethug plays her, it almost deserves a ban. So, I mean, but then again, we've already seen Nilly's being banned away permanently. The Renekton one's probably one where maybe it's like Seraphine for Boise State. Hawaii just doesn't want to deal with it because Rumble's got to be permabanned. That is
right.
Number one. And we've seen teams
leave it open.
Try and leave it open. We've seen Mountain West teams try and leave it open.
Leave it open.
It has not gone very well for them. I don't think I think the only time it was left open and he didn't play it is because the team tried to sort of what I call pseudo fourth ban it and then first pick it on blue side.
Sure.
It didn't work very well either. But Glovely's back here. Glovely, before we get to the draft, what are your predictions for what either one? Let's start with Hawaii. What's your prediction for what Hawaii wants to do if they want to come away with the upset victory here?
Well, they definitely had a really strong strategy in that first game, but as soon as Boise State had a bit more reliable engage, they didn't have the ability to disengage. That Morgana was absolutely crucial to their composition, so they might consider picking up the Morgana a little bit early if they want to run with the same style. Otherwise, they might want to bring out a completely different strategy here because I think Boise State pretty much has their first one figured out.
Yeah, well, and like we're seeing the Renekton probably going to be followed up by that Nidalee. The Renekton-Nidalee synergy right now is absolutely massive, but Boise State decides they do not want to see that Jhin in this game. How do you entirely feel about that one there, Lovely?
Jhin, I think, is one of the strongest champions in terms of the bot lane marksman available in the current meta. You got Jhin, you got Kai'Sa, you got Ashe, you got Misfortune. I think those are the main four that you're going to see, or at least as far as that bot lane position. You also see Lucian mid and Senna support, and obviously Kindred. But I think he's really great if your team is looking to follow up on the crowd control. And that was what their strategy was in those previous games, was to follow up on top of each other's CC over and over and over again. That's not something you could do, of course, now that Jhin is banned away, but Ashe is still on the board. They could feasibly do something like that.
We see the bans from Boise State all the same. Not a Shyvana. That is a Seraphine banned away by the Broncos. Have to assume that Hawaii is going to ban away the Rumble. There it is. They have not changed at all. And Boise State's going to first pick the Galleon. That was actually going to be my question to you, Glovely, is we've seen Kai'Sa first picked a lot. We know Boise State probably maybe even prefers Goblin to be on the Ashe. Are you shocked that we didn't see an ADC first pick and maybe they're just kind of going to say we'll pick whatever Hawaii doesn't?
Yeah, honestly, that's not too big of a surprise. Galio is definitely a champion. Boise State has really favored in a lot of matchups. The fact that you can flex it into multiple different positions, the fact that it gives you a tank as well as a potential damage dealer on your team, that is going to be the Twisted Fate locked in on the other side. So Boise State definitely going to pick up whatever AD carry they please.
Well, and as far as this Twisted Fate, I mean, they're going to pick it back up and continue to use it. The question is, are we going to see game 1 or game number 2? And there is the Morgana lock-in. I was curious to exactly how much agency that champion had. You saw that as far as the Qs on the Morgana game, spot on. Qs as a Janna, not nearly as much. I don't know if it's that half-second delay, but as far as the Black Shield working out right now, going to be great for the side of Hawaii. And right now, Boise State up against the wall. If you're BSU here, what do you pick, Glovely? What do you prioritize lane-wise as they flash the jungle?
I do think this is an excellent choice for the jungler. I think what you really need is you need a strong engage who can get around the Morgana Dark Binding. We saw in that game 1, Morgana's Dark Binding constantly shut down Ethug's Hecarim, so as a result, Boise State not able to close in and to initiate those fights, and they were just constantly cutting back. However, this Ashe pickup is a very good one, available for the Malphite, of course, on the board, but Ben's still coming through. But Ashe giving them the opportunity to pick off a target. Going to have to be very careful, though, because with that Black Shield available, they are going to potentially be able to shut down even that engage.
Yeah, that was going to be my follow-up question is, what do you do with the AD carries? Do you leave up the Ashe and the Kaisa and maybe try and pick them on the other side? That's not going to be the case. They didn't want to get banned away. There is that. Olaf coming out for Hawaii. Incredibly strong right now with the amount of healing. Chat trying to send all of their energy towards Hawaii. And that Ragnarok, that's one way to get to the Crystalline Arrow there, Glovely, and that's something Boise State's got to figure out how to deal with here in their last 2 picks.
Definitely that Ragnarok on top of it. Gore Drinker pairs so well with the rest of his kit. It's really hard to bring down an Olaf, especially if he gets ahead. So ideally, you want to try and get ahead of him early. Kindred, not a great jungler for doing that. So really good pick overall for their composition by Hawaii.
That's just, you just avoid the Olaf fish. That's all you do. You just don't let him get near you. And it's not like he has anything built inside of his kit that, allows him to do that, especially considering the slows that you're going to be seeing from the Ashe not going to be usable. The moves that you're seeing from Galio and the likes of that, it not going to matter. And this champion, like you said, yes, does gain a whole bunch of health. He deals about the same, and it gets way out of control really quick. So hopefully they can find a way to just avoid, to tiptoe around until Ethug is able to come online. But it looks like Gnar going to be the first ban, followed by the Malphite. It might as well get rid of that Fizz while we're at it.
Interesting choices there by Hawaii. The one thing to point out, I mean, I guess the way you deal with the Olaf Chizu is, yeah, sure, he pops Ragnarok, he's immune to everything you want to do to him, but he loses the passive armor magic resist if Ethug gets online, which you hinted to. He just goes pop, and you really don't care that he's not CCable. So it's going to be a very, very interesting game for what I would assume is Ivane only, though Olaf has started to explore out into the top lane, as Vikings like to do, so maybe he is going to be up there with IMOP. I'm not quite sure yet, but it's a very cat-and-mouse game for the Olaf of when do you Ragnarok, how do you make sure you don't just get one shot losing all those armor magics, and then we get the Aphelios. So Kaisa, despite not being banned, not going to be in this game, not something you see very often. And where do you think Boise State's going to go here with their last 2 picks, Glovely?
Looking at the composition and just thinking about what's worked out for them so far, I think what they want to do is they need to have a solid pick to lead into that. The tank up in the top lane for Red Hots, that's not a big surprise either. It gives you more protection for that Ashe, and also for Ethug's Kindred. Both of those champions going to be feeling a lot safer, and a really important thing about Shen is that he hard counters the Olaf. You can't really auto-attack into a Shen when he lays down that protection for his teammates, and that shuts down a lot of Olaf's damage and healing, even during Ragnarok.
Absolutely. Final pickup here, going to be a Lulu, actually. Champion I haven't seen too much recently, but am always terrified to be turned into a cupcake or some other cute, adorable critter, so I love this grab here from Dean on the Boise State side of things, and we got a full composition as far as BSU is concerned.
Yeah, and I do like the Lulu pickup there. Again, it's just more layers of protection for those marksmen, so a very marksman-focused comp on the side of Boise State, with just layer upon layer upon layer of protection. On the other side, it's going to be Wukong that's going to be the final pick, so definitely a very scary one in terms of being able to jump on that backline and blow them up with his ultimate if he gets ahead.
Yeah, Hawaii has definitely operated as they have this whole series of the best defenses not having to play defense because the whole enemy team is dead. There's not a lot of tanks. The Olaf will probably squeeze in there as the pseudo one as Red Hot waves to the crowd, trying to wrap this victory up over Hawaii in game number 3. And I will say, Glovely, spoiler alert, I don't think that Shen stand uniting on Ashe. I think everything in terms of the Galio and the Shen, that's going to land on Ethug because he's going to find himself on the back line every single time.
I mean, definitely the Kindred has the ability to stay alive very long. It's just a lot of defense that Boise State is piling up on top of each other. The biggest weakness in this composition, though, is that they are very reliant on those two marksmen for all of their damage, and it's going to take time for Ash and Kindred to really scale later into the game. Until then, Shen has a decent early game trading phase, but really hard to lock down a Wukong for that. And all of the rest of their team is based around defense, protection, keeping those carries alive. So it's really a question of how do they get those carries ahead?
Right, and then, of course, on the opposite end, as far as the Warriors are concerned, just very rinse and repeat, as we saw. They're going to smash into you as hard as humanly possible, or inhumanly, depending on the scenario, and then just let their massive damage dealers continue to do just that. So I do love the pickup, and this full coordination. They really don't have to do anything other than right-click, and it's going to work out just fine on the side of the Warriors, unless I'm mistaken, Glovely.
No, you're absolutely correct. They're very much going to be playing an all-in composition here with multiple layers of just ignoring what Boise State wants to do. They are still going to have a hard time because Boise State's got all these shields. They've got slows. They've got taunts. They've got the barrier from Shen. That's going to make a huge difference in the long run, in my opinion.
And I mean, I guess then we can leave you on this, Glovely. I mean, this is the winner-take-all game. Last time Hawaii had the Twisted Fate Morgana, they kind of ran over Boise State. We just saw what Boise State did with that Kindred and the Ash. So what are your expectations for game number 3, and who do you think is going to come out victorious?
In terms of game number 3, I think if Boise State survives through the early game, they've got a much stronger team composition going on from that point onward. So I think early game is going to be super important, and I think the team that's going to win is probably the one who builds Grievous Wounds first.
We've seen some teams on this stream, Glovely, who have somehow forgotten that Grievous Wounds is an item. So I appreciate you reminding everyone, including your solo queue teammates tonight, that Grievous Wounds is something you should definitely be buying, especially against a guy like
Come on,
Olaf.
guys. It's really useful.
Oh, I mean, I think you're right, though. I do think that, I mean, Boise State probably has a little bit more need for Grievous Wounds, especially going into the Olaf. But we will see what comes down here in game number 3. Both teams kind of running at each other with their, the unstoppable horse meets the immovable object kind of scenario here. Boise State picking what won them game 2 for the most part. Hawaii picking the core that sort of carried them in game number 1. And I'm really curious to see how this all breaks down and where we go from here. And Glovely, I mean, since we're still here, we haven't gotten to the game. What are we looking for in the first 10 minutes? I mean, you talked about the early game. What are you expecting here? Do you think either side has an innate advantage early?
I do think that the innate advantage goes over to the side of Hawaii. They've got a lot of very strong early game champions, and they don't necessarily need to be level 6 to come online. Certainly, they do have some big power spikes in the Wukong, in the Twisted Fate, in the Olaf, but they're all fairly solid champions, even early on in the game. So I'd say watch that bot lane, because that's where I think the focus is going to be. You can't really target down a jungler. You have no idea where they're going to be, but you're always going to have access to one of those carries. So definitely bot side is where I think a lot of the focus will be.
That seems to have been the name of the game so far tonight, Chizu, is that bot lane. And whichever bot lane's come out on top, that team has won the game. We get Doc's keys for one last time. Understand your comp, understand your win condition, respect their spikes, and play your game. It's all brought to you by Count, whose Identity Trust Global Network delivers real-time fraud prevention, account protection, and a personalized customer experience for more than 9,000 leading brands and payment providers. If you want to stay safe with quick and accurate payments, make sure you go check them out at count.com, KOUNT.com. And I think that the other thing that we touched on, Chizu, is how much of that CC and can the Olaf bait out. Right. If you get the wild growth, if you get the taunt, if you get the stand united, the rest of the team has the follow-up. Maybe something we weren't expecting. That's a Galileo in the bot lane, and that is a mid-Lulu for Ascent.
Interesting. I like this. We'll see what happens as we got the Goon Squad here rotating through here on the bottom side. Try cautionary pings coming through. About 1:30, I believe, is when you leave this brush, or you just go right away. You know what? Go straight for broke. Throw a ward right over. Thumbs up to be given as well. As it looks like early invade here. I do believe is spotted out relatively easy with Boise State. They did see them jump through the try. Looks like just a little bit of vision to get eyes on E-Thug, which is something they were hoping they could have done earlier last game, but looks like they're going to stick around here for a quick second.
Yeah, they're going to stick around. You see the pinks come out, maybe have an idea Boise State is on their red buff. They would be correct in that assumption. So we might have some vertical jungling going on from both of these teams. We'll see if IMOP is going to check it. He is not, and there's going to be an assumption that, you know what, you have my red, I'll take your red. We'll each take, we'll get our own blues, and we'll go from there.
And it looks like we are going to find ourselves the recipients of some vertical jungling. Look at that. So red for red, switch over to your own blue at that point, and a nice volley there from Goblin is going to find a couple of individuals there. And as we said, these games didn't pop off until about 8 minutes, so we'll see. We'll see what we have this time around.
Yeah, I think the one thing that, we didn't know from draft is we don't always see who picks what, that I would have to give the edge to Hawaii. We'll see how Ascent plays it, is putting Ascent on that Lulu, because when he was on the Galio in game 1 and he couldn't really punish iLearn game, Twisted Fate was able to pop off. The Fizz puts a lot more pressure on that Twisted Fate iLearn game, a little bit frazzled, not able to make as much happen. That Lulu's going to have very, very limited kill pressure, so I think iLearn game, if he CS's properly, should be able to go into that mid and late game pretty well stacked on items, and that should give them the advantage. We see a potential level 1 dive here coming out on Boise State. No, looks like Ivane only is just going to retreat to his jungle.
It looks like Dean is just trying to play the mental game as much as he's actually trying to play the game, as the opposing jungle's right above him, flashing the B moat, and then also doing a little taunty dance here, but they're getting pushed in pretty hard. So Dean as well as Goblin not really able to do a super large amount here. But again, like we said, these early games have been relatively slow and stagnant for both crews.
I don't think either team's probably too upset about that. You can see the early CS slightly favoring Boise State in the top and mid lane. But mid lane pretty even right now.
Well, I do like the fact that Shen does offer an absolutely absurd amount of just counterplay. And then, we got a Justice Punch, no taunt to follow. But they are able to zone out here. But the Shen alone will be able to mitigate a lot of the Olaf damage. Turning Olaf into a cupcake will, mitigate a lot of that damage. And just taunting him down after everything is said and done will do a lot. So this Olaf is not nearly as scary, I guess, is what I'm trying to allude to, as perhaps other team compositions going into it would be.
Yeah, I will say that the mental play in the bot lane, very interesting. You mentioned the Justice Punch and no follow-up taunt, but Gumi Yuzi just immediately slammed that cleanse, expecting the taunt to come through. Right. So there's no cleanse on the side of that Aphelios anymore. Dean playing that spectacularly well. Potentially the reason why Boise State opted for that Galio on the bot lane once again is the amount of kill pressure it does open up. It's not something to keep an eye on with no cleanse. Still has the flash available. How quick Boise State wants to go down. You see the pings coming out. We're seeing some action in the mid lane. And it's just an axe.
Undertow, more like under no, as it doesn't land. But the Justice Punches in taunt is there as well. Goblin is able to get the volley shot coming out there from Aphelios. But again, just back and forth trades between these two teams, just looking for a position to gain the higher ground on, if you will, an advantage of any kind. Meanwhile, top side has looked exactly the same pretty much every minute of this game. Binding nice and feet going to land on nothing but the emptiness of the jungle there.
They saw that Boise State had the pings out onto Ivane only. Maybe thought they caught him greeting. Taunt's going to land.
It is going to come through. Volley going to land as well. That binding is there. More damage coming out from the Aphelios. And that's kind of what we've been seeing. A little this for that, and it's been even all the way around. Gold card is going to land. Twisted Fate able to get a little bit more damage on there. Does not follow through, though. And we're getting real close to some explosive plays. You pick your lane, and you might be seeing some action there in the very near future.
Yeah, we saw the quick cleanse come out by Gumi Yuzi. Krusty has done the inverse. He's done a really good job holding on to that flash, not being too worried of the burst potential of Boise State's bot lane so far. See if that cost him as Ethug's rotating down.
Justice Punch, taunt is there. This time they're on the Aphelios. Flash is going to be used. Volley is going to land. The Q is going to be there. Ignite is burned. And Galio is not able to finish it out there. First blood going to be burned there over on the side of Hawaii. Teleport going to be used as well, possibly. Ultimate from our guy not going to be used, actually, as it does look like Goblin going to be dropped here. Teleport is coming in from the mid lane, I do believe. Here is Ethug to help kind of follow this out. Flash is going to be used. Binding going to be flashed, but Gold card is there as well. Ignite is going to fall. Flash as well from the side of this Twisted Fate is going to come through. Ascent is looking for the Aphelios. Instead is going to have to use the Wild Growth and be moved. He will find the equalizing kill there, but Boise State loses quite a few members, a handful of summoner spells, and they're going to be on the losing side of that. that. Hawaii up 3-1 as the 6-minute mark is the explosive minute of game number 3.
Yeah, so see Ivane only going to pick up that first dragon of the game for free here, barely getting it killed before Red Hot's rotated over. Taunt doesn't quite land, and Boise State committing all 5 members to that bot lane, and Hawaii only using the 3. And they were able to come out with the victory. Unfortunately, that Justice Punch is not quite landing. The Triumph Heal, and then the teleport in from iLearn game with the ult to stop Ethug's tower dive was more than enough for Hawaii to turn what should have maybe even been a lost fight into a 3-for-1.
Teleport going to be expended. Send in Red Hot's back there onto the top side. And it had promised. All of the situations that you were seeing on that bottom side had a chance. It was just too little, too late. And of course, as far as the crew is concerned, they spent a lot of time trying to get that Ashe down, which allowed for Boise State to make the necessary rotations there onto the bottom side and you know, kind of stop the bleeding from getting worse, I guess, is what you're looking at. But again, Hawaii has shown that they can get off to an early lead, doing just that here on this side. 3-1 the kill differential here as we keep towards the 7.5-minute mark.
Yeah, Boise State's going to have to be careful on that bot lane now with how much more damage Gumayuzi is going to have. Does not have the flash, but does have the cleanse. Boise State also out of teleports. Stand United about 50% on cooldown, so Red Hot, if he does leave lane again, not going to be able to get back as quickly. MOP holding onto that teleport, being able to catch up in CS by a large margin.
Ooh, Justice Punch to the volley. Rinse and repeat. Winds of War are there, but the shield is also good. And the binding is even better as the Tormented Soil is doing tons of work there. Goblin looking for more damage, but instead is going to be forced to retreat. Even the Relic Shield makes that a scary situation there on the bottom side for Boise State.
Yeah, and that was the other thing that I didn't even get a chance to mention after that first fight is Goblin had Gumayuzi dead to rights, but a huge binding from Krusty Krusty, and we talked about it. He was nailing every binding in game 1. Stopped Goblin in his tracks. He couldn't get in range for the last kill, which left it up to Dean, who couldn't just get enough autos off on that Gallia. Nice dodge of the Tormented Soul there, so Krusty Krusty's not going to know he's there. Now he will.
Nerves of steel.
But, I mean, these bindings have been on point. You have to wonder if maybe there was a way to fit in that Morgana ban in Phase 1 for Boise State, because Krusty Krusty on that champion has been absolutely phenomenal.
And we'll see if that continues to be the story. That's how they won their first game and how Boise State found a win on the second one. As far as where the kills were happening, it just goes to show you that's where all those resources are. And another stellar binding there. 50% welcome back to lane, as Goblin is just taking a beating there. Meanwhile, mid lane is doing the best to kind of soak up some of the aggression here. Top side, would you guess it?
No.
Just like top side, nothing. Woo!
Oh, wait.
Might have something here. Possible jungle rotations, question marks. Maybe not.
No, now we might have something. They're gonna Rift Herald's been started here by Ethug. Twisted Fate Ult's gonna give his position away.
So it looks like Red Hot is going to have to make a decision here. They are on that Rifty, going to be pushing out Boise State. Just from the amount of members in the area alone. Actually, they didn't go through with it. Wow, Ashelt's going to be expended there. No one going to be found as they are going to fight for this Rift Herald. Ascent is able to get out some damage with the Glitter Lances, and that one is going to go down. I'm not exactly sure who got it there, but the damage is coming out. Wild Growth, as well as Heroic Entrance, is going to find... Oh, we're going to pretend we didn't see that flash as Ethug finds one. The taunt is going to come on through, and it looks like binding not going to land. There's a Boise State, I believe, is going to, pick up the Rift Herald there, able to pick it up on the back of Ethug, finds himself a kill as well. So they have made a move, and they find themselves more than a couple here in the 10-minute mark of the game.
First time one of the junglers has actually won that smite battle. I know in game 1, iLearn Game was the one who picked up a Rift Herald, and now a lot of pressure on Ethug on what he wants to do with that Rift Herald. Can he get plates out of it? Well, I don't think we've seen a Rift Herald get plates at all, as neither team has been able to play around it. So I'm really curious to see how quickly Ethug can drop this, if he can get pressure in a lane and get somebody on this Boise State team some extra gold to get the Broncos in that gold lead with that Shelly, who's going to give them 2 plates worth of damage.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you might as well allow for your mid lane support to start roaming around, and I use that support term with quotes in the air. It could be the place to be. You really don't need to use it for Red Hots. Obviously, he's got his own forms of, I don't know, moving around the map and then some. And then as far as your bottom lane is concerned, kind of the same scenario. So open up that middle lane, allow for that Lulu to move. At least that's what I would do, because Goblin should be okay here for at least a little bit. Just revisit his lane when you're ready, and then allow for your, like I said, mid and support to do just that. All lanes are now yours, and we'll see. But as far as the scoreline is concerned, Hawaii is still with the slight advantage, very minuscule at best. But one Drake in their pocket, gotta love that. And as we have another one here in the very near future.
Scent rotating down, gets pinged out. So it's a full retreat from that Hawaii bot lane. We did see as well, Gumayuzi did pick up a solo plate. That's a 360 gold onto that Aphelios. So maybe that's something Boise State wants to counter. Second dragon has spawned. It's an Infernal Drake, meaning we'll get a Cloud or Mountain as our soul for this deciding game. As here comes Etha.
And it looks like, yeah, just too little, too late. Olaf is going to be here. No real re-engage. Binding is going to land on Dean, who was like, that's pretty cool. Able to shrug that one off relatively easy. Head back into the bottom side. And again, it's all going to be for this Infernal Drake. We'll see who ends up getting it, as it does look like it has been started there, if I am not mistaken.
Yeah, it looks like from the map, Ivane only maybe has started. These bindings have been still just insane from Krusty.
Ooh, looks like we might have some aggression here as Ascent has moved on down. E-Thug is here as well. Ultimate is going to come out. Teleport is going to be expended, but it looks like Ivane only is going to be blown up there. Teleport is down, but it's just more lambs to the slaughter, as it does look like Boise State is going to lose one. Krusty going to find the other. Volley is going to come through. Meanwhile, topside, IMOP is going to find a kill there on Red Hots. I thought for sure that Twisted Binding landed. Hitbox question mark, but another pair going to end up in the hands of Boise State. They will take the Drake and find more than that on the bottom side. More than half of the Hawaii crew stared at gray screens.
And that was just, I mean, what we talked about. You pop the Ragnarok, sure, you're immune to crowd control, but your ability to just fall over and join your Viking brothers in the grave, albeit more temporarily than they are, increases dramatically, and that's exactly what happened. Lamb's Respite almost kept E-Thug alive, just gets picked off there at the very end by Krusty. I think Boise State loving how that fight went. The only downside was Red Hots getting soloed out in the top lane, but they'll take that trade every time. And Boise State doesn't look like Shelly's going to get any plates. Trying to find out where E-Thug even dropped it. Looks like he dropped it in the mid. We'll see if she's able to get the charge off. It is.
Hey!
Solo gold, though. So kind of a win. Not quite.
Can always be worse.
Yeah, you know, could get 0.
But I did like the, like I said, watch out for the big, scary Viking. Never mind, he's now an adorable cupcake. He just was not able to put out as much damage, was not able to lifesteal, and that just opened up the floodgates for the Boise State Broncos to just kind of gallivant on in and take what they wanted, and ended up finding 2 more on the other side. Again, I want to re-look at that Morgana Q. Pretty sure that should have hit the Lulu and possibly even killed her, but it led to a pair coming back for the side of the orange and blue.
Yeah, that's the one thing that's kind of surprising, as we see a little bit more damage in the top lane, but nothing too crazy, is that it's Ascent who's sitting at 3-0-3 on that Lulu. 108 CS most in the game, just barely outpacing Gumayuzi. And, you know, I was like, all right, supporting the mid. We've seen it before. It's definitely one of those funnel comps Boise State has tried, but Ascent playing it masterfully.
It's just a very fun champion. You're just basically given lane priority. You know, you can't get caught if you're smart about it. And then your ability to just, the no button, as I like to say, just, nope, you're done. Like old school Soraka silence, you know what I mean? Just, you don't get to do what you want. Nice try, though. And if there's a player who can manipulate that and kind of abuse it, it's going to be Ascent.
See, E-Thug's hanging around on that bot side, tower deep. They want the dive. They're fighting over the minion. And now E-Thug's got to be careful. See the ping's coming out. He is getting collapsed on.
Does look like the fight is going to be coming on out here. Justice Punch is forced to be used as a defensive opportunity here, and the moves here from Red Hots as he's going to go. Wow, again, proccing up that ultimate there, but IMOP is going to show exactly that being the case. Ultimate is going to come on down here. Justice Punch to follow. E-Thug going to find one, but the ultimate and the damage coming out from Aphelios is also massive. The Crystalline Arrow going to come through, but it's too little too late, as Aphelios was able to pick up one. E-Thug here eyes the Morgana, but is not going to be able to find that one. Meanwhile, topside, just continue to push that lane, find yourself some more resources, and another tip of the binding is going to find Dean there. Thankfully, one of the tankier members, but still very low on health. Hawaii going to find the advantage there in that fray.
Yeah, great use of the ult by IMOP to cancel the teleport from Red Hot for the Stand United, I should say. The shield still went, but the Shen wasn't there. And then Wukong barely ends up winning that 1v1. Now Gumayuzi's got to be careful. He'll retreat. And that was a huge shutdown that went over to the side of Hawaii. I think that 800 gold and killing Ascent either might have landed on I Learned Game, which is probably the worst case if you're Boise State.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, but it is what it is, man. Again, we're 7-7 here. Both of these teams showing they're scrappy. they're willing to take these weird fights in just not necessary areas. Like that all started over a blue buff, I think. I realize there's not much else on the map to be fighting over.
Kindred Mark is what it actually started over. The Gromp was Kindred marked, and that's where I think that everyone
so that
was
makes
converting.
quite a bit more sense. I didn't catch that, unfortunately. Again, smaller screen. You got the big one this time.
Slip dock to 20 next time. You'll get the big screen, and I'll be like, I think they're fighting. I don't know where they are. that could be top, could be bot. I can't really tell. I do not envy your position with the small TV.
I think I'll manage to survive, but a lot of excitable pings here towards the second rift, as it does look like this will be a point of contention. Binding is going to land once again. Everyone being highlighted there from the Blossom. And Boise State should be able to pick up Heraldina here without really any issue. It does look like this Morgana going to hang out for another half second, hoping that maybe the Tormented Soil would do something. Not going to be the case. So Boise State has yet another large objective in their pockets. Where they're going to use it is going to be the question. You do have Drake here also available for the side. A good chance. Crystal Arrow comes through, and it's landing. They find the Morgana, the taunt is down, the volley is there, Glitter Lances as well. Dean going to be accredited for that one as they find Krusty. Gold card is going to be used on Galio. He's more than okay with that, and a smooth move there. Started off by the pings and an Enchanted Crystal Arrow.
Yeah, kids, never open your shop until you get back to the fountain. Back animation was going up, planning out that next item for Krusty, and he never saw it coming. Should allow Boise State to potentially pick up their second Dragon of the game uncontested. It looks like Hawaii's still rotating down. Krusty has respawned. IMOP does have the teleport. Shen with the standing item means we could have a full-out 5-on-5. IMOP's going to back. No way to stop the Shen this time. And I expect this to be a drag-down fight at this Dragon.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's going to be who gets the upper hand. Again, Boise State doing a pretty good job. The ultimate is going to be used, so everyone's kind of being, oh boy, it looks like Goblin's going to be the one to be picked on here. Great move and awesome collapse from the Warriors here, and that will move them up towards the Drake, but Rift Herald's going to be dropped, actually, and going for the mid lane. So Boise State actually has kind of a weird advantage here, and it looks like the binding is not going to land, but the taunt is going to from Boise State. They're focusing on this back lane relatively quickly, and Ethug is going to be jumping in. Lamb's Respite is going to go down. The ultimate there from IMOP is going to be enough, and now it looks like that Olaf is going insane psycho mode. Dean gonna find yet another one, but not before it is traded over. A 4-for-3 in favor of Hawaii, and they're gonna find their second Drake of this game.
Yeah, boys.
Maybe?
Dean for the steal.
Winds of War, not the most damaging. Oh, the ultimate came in as well. Enchanted Crystal Arrow wasn't able to find anything there, but that is going to go over to Hawaii. Wukong being accredited with that one.
Now, really good job by Hawaii separating the Boise State team. Ascent forced to Wild Growth himself all alone, not to mention the pick that they found onto Goblin. Great use of the teleport and the TF ult. That's why very shocked still, despite how Game 2 went, that Boise State was so confident leaving iLearn game on that TF, and this the ability to land picks anywhere he wants. You can just see the cooldown on that ultimate. So incredibly short, almost already 2/3 of the way back and being able to maybe land another pick. So for Boise State, got to watch out for that. And Hawaii, this was their success in Game 1. Force a pick, make Boise State over-aggress. Ivane only barely surviving Ethug's damage, and that kind of turned the fight for the sides of the Warriors.
To be completely honest, this is much closer than either of the two previous games that we have had. So as far as the explosive volatility of any of these players, we're definitely going to see it. That situation right there, we just saw not only the Olaf just kind of plant his feet and fight, but the Wukong as well, just able to shred the armor of pretty much anyone he's choosing to. That definitely is coming into as a thorn in the side for this shed. But Boise State's still looking good despite necessarily, you know, being down as far as kill spread is concerned. They are up in the overall gold, so that does feel great. Again, a negligible amount at best. But again, anyone's game. This is why we're at a Game 3, and we're seeing it in spades.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of pressure going to be on Boise State to make Ivane only pop. They've also got to make sure they know where TF is, and it really does draw the question that we talked about with Glovely in the draft of, you know, where do your, hero's entrance, where does your Stand United go? Are you throwing every resource you have on Ethug and hoping he can 1v5? Or is someone going to go help out Port Goblin and be able to peel for him? And that's going to be a really, really interesting dichotomy for Boise State to debate. Sure. Every single team fight is, are we saving Goblin or are we hoping that Ethug 1v5s? I think probably right now you're putting more, beans on the side of Ethug as he's 4-3-3 and Ash is 0-2-3, but still something they've got to think about every fight.
Ooh, and they got to keep in mind these bindings. Oh, Ethug going over the wall. He's going to get the shield out, and he's going to get a flash as well. He's going to pick that one up. The ultimate is coming on in from Twisted Fate. Here comes the hero's entrance as well, and Boise State has actually found this. Ragnarok is being used to force the Olaf back into his own jungle. Wild Growth coming through as well, as it does look like Ethug is not done hunting yet. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow is a sniper shot with a long bow attached to it, as it does look like Goblin will land that one with a eagle eye right there. And Boise State finds a couple of kills. They're peeling back off. Dean deciding whether or not he wants to re-engage, but they have their sights on Baron. Get some vision down and see what you can do.
And no ult for iLearn game, no blast cone. Gonna be really hard for a steal here from Hawaii, and I think we just got our answer, Chizu. It's going to be Ethug is going to call, he's going in, and everyone else is going to have to go save him.
1v9, dude. Ethug did a great job there. You have, wow, the Aphelios there is going to land a pretty good stun, but that is going to be that, as the purple Baron buff is going to empower the rest of Boise State as they head home to buy some new items.
Yeah, really great job by Boise State, aggressively calling the Dragon, or the Baron at 22 minutes, even with the respawn timers being that short, they're able to burn it down. And once again, we talked about this in the open and what feels like hours ago, Chizu. Boise State strat last semester and so far this semester has been let Ethug get ahead, let him build every damage item he can find in his shop, and you're going to throw as many abilities onto him as possible. And oh, hey, if Goblin gets fed, it's a nice consolation prize. But Ethug, this team is going to go as far as he can go in game number 3.
Well, here we go. Looks like we are making a move. Enchanted Crystal Arrow is coming through, and I do believe that is going to land. It is going to hit the Olaf. Oh, my goodness. Another Ragnarok out of here, and Ethug just hunts him down. Puts him into the dirt, and Boise State finds yet another pick. They will get another tower, and they are showing no signs of slowing down here. Every one of these individuals on fire until they get stopped in their tracks by a Morgana Binding.
Morgana bindings have been on point, but there's only so much you can do, and here comes Ethug!
And it looks like he's not going to stop. Wild Growth is going to come in. We also have the Hero's Resolve, Lamb's Respite, and nothing is going to drop Ethug, as everything is going to be given to him, as it looks like Wukong looking to make a play for himself. A Justice Punch into the taunt is going to land. The shutdown going over to Ascent, and that could very well be devastating, if not the end of this game for the side of Boise State, or in favor of Boise State, as Hawaii is being systematically removed from this map.
MOP picked the wrong target, killed the Ash. You want to kill Ethug. Respawns are coming. You've got 10 seconds on the Aphelios. Krusty going to use the ult. One Nexus turret down. Baron buff minions. Boise State's going to make probably the right call. There's an argument you could have ended Chizu, but there's an argument of why do that when you're so far ahead, and Boise State will just back.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is what it is, and you just gotta love that, man. Boise State, that all started off of a singular pick in this same area. No binding going to be found here, but the ultimate going to be coming out. I thought, no, never mind. It looks like, oh, wow. TF going to be caught out, be chunged down there by the Glitter Lances as well. And Boise State kind of playing with their food here. They are in a very, very good position, so they can kind of do whatever they want here. Eyeballing this Drake here. Out comes the ultimate, so they have been spotted here. Justice Punch is going to be used. They could, in theory, let this one go and push themselves to Soul, but instead going to be dropped there, or I'm sorry, caught is none other than Dean. Suddenly gains all of that health back, but it looks like Infernum is going to be caught there. Aphelios is going to be forced to flash out. The rest of Boise State, Ethug over the wall, he's going to get the Drake, and now they're going to find the opposing jungler as well. Goblin is trying to run for the hills, but the Monkey King is able to drop on him. Ascent now going 1v2, and the other ADC of the opposing team is there, but now Ethug baits them on in, says, see you later. He's not done yet, picks himself up a double, and now Boise State is prized and poised to finish this game. You gonna let the monkey survive? Okay, never mind. Flash over the wall, tossed him on down. Go ahead, make yourself a nice little monkey coat while you're at it, and push this bottom side. Boise State looking so good here in the last handful of minutes.
And unfortunately for Hawaii, Game 2 iLearn game reared its ugly head in what is looking like our final fight. We'll see if the Broncos just want to back and make sure everything's nice and sound. Looks like the respawn's a little bit too quick, so they won't end here. But iLearn game teleported in the tri-bush totally away from the rest of the team. For a moment, I was like, okay, he's going to come in, he's going to get this sick flank, land a yellow card onto Ethug. Hawaii's going to turn it around. Boise State chased him down. It did separate the team for a little bit, but TF was nowhere to be seen in that fight. If we had the fancy LCS graphics and could see damage done, that TF probably had a big fat 0, and I'd be so shocked if it was above double digits.
Meanwhile, you look at E-Thug, and it's just like off the chart.
Yeah.
Literally just like he's flashing into 1v3s and winning. It's kind of disgusting. It's like the worst case scenario when you're in solo queue. Just one guy who suddenly can take on everyone, and right now Hawaii's feeling that, man. They are definitely not vibing with the last 10 minutes of this game, whether it's been the Enchanted Crystal Arrows landing spot on, or just, I don't know, E-Thug opening up. And it looks like we are going to get a teleport here onto the top side. Goblin is going to put out the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, do a sizable amount of damage, but now here comes E-Thug, 1v3, finds the first one there. Gold card is going to come down. The rest of Boise State is here. Here comes the taunt. They're going to find that. A double kill here for the side of E-Thug, looking for a triple. He's going to get it. Gold card dropping him, or making him stay in that position, but it's going to be 3-for-1 in favor of Boise State, and if you're Hawaii, that does not do you any good at this moment.
No, I think the biggest issue I'm seeing is I know when a team's the champion, the defending champion of the Mountain West, you should probably take what they do, figure out their game plan, figure out how they execute it. The problem is Hawaii is using Boise State's Game 1 game plan, which is throw everything at the wrong target. They're just murdering poor Goblin.
It's just a rampage.
Everything's on cooldown, and E-Thug says, okay, well, he's not Rammus, but I don't care. You just use everything on Ash. So Hawaii's got to throw everything at E-Thug, not Goblin, because Goblin's not the damage problem right now.
So, yeah, Wukong going to be jumping on that bottom side. Meanwhile, top inhibitor is just going to be destroyed. Middle inhibitor is gone. Looking for something here as E-Thug is just going to take off one member of the crew. Huge heroic entrance there. Knocks up a handful of members from the side of Hawaii. Congratulations, a triple kill. Give him the quad. The fantasy points are starting to stack here as far as this game is concerned. And it was so amazing. The world stood still. Oh, I guess that's the end of the game. Okay.
Game ended.
I don't know. Nani?
I think there might be a little thing in there that we don't need to talk about. Might have been what happened. But doesn't matter. The game was over regardless. E-Thug just thirsting for the fantasy points. E-Thug in those last probably 15 minutes, Shizu, best way to describe him, doesn't afraid.
Wait, I'm sorry, one more time?
Doesn't afraid. In 1v3, I don't care. Doesn't afraid of that.
Nice. That's nice.
Going in. I mean, it really was for Hawaii two main problems. One, it was something that worked well in them in game 1, didn't work the rest of the time. Ivane only just simply couldn't match what E-Thug is doing in the jungle in terms of pressure. The other thing, why are you trying to murder Goblin over and over? I know he kind of rampaged you in game 2, but when E-Thug is legit 3-shotting people, why are you not throwing more resources at the Kindred? I know he has Lambs or Spite, but still, the man doesn't know what a defensive item is.
Right.
I don't even think he has Guardian Angel in his shop because it gives health. It doesn't give just pure damage. I mean, you've got to throw everything at Kindred if you're Hawaii.
I asked him to play the Rammus today just because, I felt so confident walking into this game, and they told me there's no way because he can't build attack items. It's like, hey, just, AP Powerball Rammus, do something like that. But no, again, E-Thug difference is kind of what was spammed in the chat, especially towards the end of that game. But I think Boise State just did a phenomenal job of protecting and engaging with that champion that E-Thug had. Whether, that first game, sure, didn't go so well, but you unchain that guy, and he's absolutely going to smack everyone and their grandma right in the mouth and have no problems doing it, as we saw flashing into multiple 1v3s. I think he received 3 triples, if not another quadra, within the 7 minutes of each other. It was ridiculous. So Boise State came to play. Hawaii had a stellar game number 1. I maybe would have pivoted off of the TF pick. It didn't seem so strong in that second game, and less so in the third game. But it was a rousing game. 3 matches, you can't complain. I mean, you can, but...
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, maybe Hawaii fans might complain just a little bit with how the result went, but don't forget, Boise State Esports is always recruited talented players, production, and broadcasters. Top talent, along with good grades and good eligibility, can earn you scholarships as well. If you want more information, go check them out, boisestate.edu/esports. Time for our ICCU player of the game. Hard-pressed, unless we're just trying to, we feel bad because he gets so many of them. It's hard-pressed to say it's anyone but E-Thug, in my opinion. And, I mean, it also just proves how hard the strategy to counter Boise State is for teams. Because the strategy really is shut down E-Thug. That is so hard to do 2 games in a row or 2 times in a 3-game series. They did it once and then never again.
Right. Well, and like you said, E-Thug is kind of the flagship MVP, if you will, seeing the plays that we saw. But I mean, Red Hot's had a stellar Malphite game, and maybe if you're looking at it that way, Goblin was kind of popping off.
They all deserve it.
They all are champions in my mind.
Let's be honest. Happens in the NFL. The MVP goes to whoever throws the most touchdowns and whoever scores the most points. E-Thug did the equivalent of that in League of Legends. There is no contesting it at all, and he is your Idaho Central Credit Union player of the game who believes a great player makes a team more successful, just like Idaho Central's helping members achieve financial success. Big congratulations to E-Thug on another one of his Idaho Central Credit Union player of the game. Absolutely incredible performance, and I think maybe the hardest thing about E-Thug to counter is he plays, I don't want to say unconventional, it's not like he's playing Teemo jungle. Kindred is not a champion that draws bans. You feel bad. You already feel bad if you're the opposing team banning Rumble.
Right.
To ban Kindred and Rumble and Nidalee and Graves and Lilia and Twitch, and I could go on and on and on, all the champions that he has played successfully, you're just going to leave too much power open for the rest of Boise State. And it's one of the things that this team does really well is you got to ban Malphite. You got to ban Rumble. You got to ban the Nidalee because his win rate for E-Thug on that Nidalee that we rarely ever see is absolutely phenomenal.
Sure.
And it's so hard to ban Boise State out. I think it's one of the complaints people have about League of Legends is there's too many champions to justify 5 bans aside. But that's the rules we play by, and I think it's so hard for counter Boise State because of that reason.
Well, yeah, I believe when I looked up today, it was Twitch. He was on like a 10-game Twitch streak. Streak. And it won most of those. So, like you were saying, his champion pool is vast. It's one of the big things I like about the Boise State crew as far as this collegiate stuff is concerned. They really do have quite a few wild cards. And then, just throw Goblin on Ash and he'll just shred. It's absolutely amazing. And I love to see it.
Yeah, and not to mention, the wild cards of keeping teams off balance. I mean, you saw a Galio pick in Game 3, which any other team, you're like, all right, that's Galio mid. They want to use that hero's entrance. Sure. And we saw Fizz still being banned away because Hawaii was like, that's probably not a mid Galio. When they were correct. Right. There's just, we talk about it all the time. Flex picking for Boise State's one of the strongest things they do because it's like, where is that going? Even at least me. Maybe you can claim that you knew all along, but I was like, all right, that's support Lulu. I mean, we haven't seen Dean on it, but that's support Lulu. Boom, it's on a set, and I'm like,
wait, what?
Okay, that makes sense because Dean's just so powerful on that Galio. So Boise State does a great job getting in people's heads. I mean, we saw 80 carries banned when there was already 80 carries picked because I think Hawaii potentially thought there was a support Ash.
Yep.
I mean, it's just so hard in the draft to keep up with what Boise State's doing, and then when you get in the game, it's so hard to keep up with E-Thug and the rest of the team as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And while I'm not surprised Hawaii put up one heck of a fight, and that just goes to show you that any team can pick up a win any day. If you follow the flow chart, the tree, if you will, of who beats who and where they end up, it's any team kind of all on the same plateau, if you will. Boise State now joins that 2-0 rank, so they get a little bit of leniency there. But as far as the overall, looking pretty good as we move on. It's unfortunately not updated, but you can just add 1 to the Boise State, so that's 2. And then as far as the side of Hawaii is concerned, you can add another 1 to their 1, just in the opposite column.
Yeah, and I mean, that is one of the very interesting things in all collegiate sports is, if you're Boise State, you're the defending Mountain West champions in CLOL. You kind of may be expected to roll through a majority of this because in the CLOL last fall, they didn't have a round robin. They just had a tournament. Boise State kind of rolled until the championship. It is also nice to see your conference getting better because that gets you more respect. So it is that sort of weird thing of, well, we don't want to be beating teams 2-1, but we also, don't want to have a conference where everyone's like, well, yeah, you only won your conference because the rest of the team's kind of bad. So I do like that Wyoming and Hawaii are definitely challenging Boise State. It's something to keep an eye on for that. But for now, Chizu, any final thoughts from what we saw here tonight?
Oh, man. Just first off, thank you to Boise State for, picking up and winning the game. It has been far too long since I have been back, so it's always a blessing to be here in the Game Pants arena. And then just great games all around. I mean, if you're Hawaii, you don't feel bad about this loss, and in fact, you take some pride into it knowing that you had a chance. You went toe-to-toe with one of the best and came pretty dang close.
It was a great job by Hawaii, but Boise State moves to 2-0. Well, as usual, we will close out with our top plays, but we're not going to be quite done. We've got a post-game press conference. The Idaho Central Credit Union player of the game, E-Thug, is going to be joining us for that. You don't want to miss it, so you want to make sure you stay tuned through the break. But for now, we're going to present you the top 5 plays brought to you by the Idaho Army National Guard, who invites you to take your impressive critical thinking skills into real time with more than 10 jobs offering a $20,000 bonus and your degree of choice paid for. The Idaho Army National Guard is the best team out there. Reach out on Twitch at iGuard Gaming. Here's our top 5 plays from the Broncos' 2-1 series win against Hawaii. Coming up after that, post-game press conference with Ethan.
End up going that tanky route. There's a lot of individuals who can kind of just be wiped from the floor as far as Boise State is concerned, because once they get... The Enchanted Crystal Arrow is going to land. They have found the Janna here. Stopwatch is going to be used. A shutdown as 2 members go down. Etha going to be finding the graves here. Drake is still up and in fact resets. What an ultimate there from Red Hot. We told you to look for it, and from the Drake pit, it lands and it does everything it needs to, and then some. Boise State with the near... Here comes the hero's entrance as well, and Boise State has actually found this. Ragnarok is being used to force the Olaf back into his own jungle. Wild Growth coming through as well, as it does look like Ethug is not done hunting yet. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow is a sniper shot with a long bow attached to it, as it does look like Goblin will land that one with... Enchanted Crystal Arrow is going to be blocked there by the Gnar, but Gnar is going to find 2 on his push, but Ethug is not going to stop. He's going to find a couple on the way out. The Justice Punch, the taunt, and that will allow for Goblin to do what Goblin does, and that is just destroy your team. Kindred with the double, and they say thank you so much for starting that. It may have been... Backline Curtain Call is here, and it is curtains for another member of Boise State. Goblin is going to go down. Poppy trying to get out of there as quick as her little legs will carry her. Gonna sidestep the Q there, but the gold card finishes that one out. Krusty is unstoppable. Hextech ultimate. Just more lambs to the slaughter, as it does look like Boise State is going to lose one. Krusty going to find the other. Volley is going to come through. Meanwhile, topside, IMOP is going to find a kill there on Red Hots. I thought for sure that Twisted Binding landed. Hitbox question mark, but another pair going to end up in the hands of Boise State. They will take the Drake and...
Esports Arena here with our post-game press conference. Unfortunately, Ethug unavailable. He was so excited about the ICCU player of the game, he had to go hang it on the fridge and call his mom, so he was not able to join us. So Doc Haskell going to be joining us instead. And Doc, we'll start with the question that Chizu and I spent a long time debating after that first game. Is Hawaii came out very strong, maybe stronger than anticipated. How were they able to take that first game?
Honestly, they used the San Jose method, which was they're playing and climbing on different accounts. These are just their competitive accounts. So it was really hard to find anything. But once we identified the Camille and the Jin, according to Coach Moore, that was what unlocked what we needed to do.
Let's talk about that game number 3, because game 2, Boise State, as you mentioned, they kind of figured it out. Any concern from you at all that game 3 was a little bit closer and there were at times sort of flashes that Hawaii could repeat their game 1 performance?
Game 3, we didn't feel like we had quite the same strength of draft that we did in game 2, but we knew you stay the course, you win the right fights, you focus your attention in the right places. We could scale, especially in that, and come out on top.
Well, with collegiate esports being continuously growing, it's starting to mirror some of the other collegiate sports. Signing day, something I never thought I would say about collegiate esports, is next week. What's Boise State got lined up?
We've got a number of things, but since we're talking League of Legends, we know that Dean is going to graduate and move on to great things, coaching for sure. So we have actually Brett Narkowitz from Glide, Oregon, one of the top high school League of Legends players in the nation, will be on February 3rd signing with Boise State, a huge event at his high school. I know, I never thought it would be as big as football, but I've already gotten a number of media calls just on this signing of Brett. Light Pulse is going to be an amazing pickup for us.
It's going to be so weird. I mean, there's guys like Dean in League of Legends and Cosmo Buster in Rocket League where those are guys that I've just been with forever. It's going to be weird casting games without them, but I'm so excited that you mentioned that we're getting one of the best in the country to replace them. Cannot wait for that. Well, Doc, yeah. I know you can be happy about Boise State moving to 2-0, defending that target on their back. A little closer than we wanted, but still get it done nonetheless. Big shout out to you for joining us. Big shout out to Ethug for his ICCU player of the game. I know he was super excited to pick that up. One day, we'll get him to join us for the power of the internet. But for tonight, that's going to wrap everything up. We've got more League of Legends around the corner this weekend with the Upsurge League, so you don't want to go anywhere. Until next time, have a good evening.